Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube. It's time, Sam, for our Week 12 NFL preview coming at you from the Antonio Cromartie studio and part with Huggies. All brought to you by our friends at Fanduel. How you doing?
Good. And indeed, our members, obviously. Brought to you by them, too.
Brought to you by the members.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And everyone keeping the lights on, paying the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. Appreciate it. All the fans, everybody. We've got a monster show here today going game by game. It's Week 12. Still have some buys this week, right? I believe. Or is this a full slate? Next week's definitely a full slate, Thanksgiving week. So we'll have a couple programming notes right off the top. We've got, just listen up just for a minute here, because we got some stuff coming up. The first thing is, next week, Thanksgiving week, we're just going to do the preview show a day early.
Right.
So there'll be no
Wednesday
update show, but we'll do the preview show on Wednesday. So Monday, Wednesday, and then, turkey-inducing coma dependent. Maybe we'll go live anytime during Thanksgiving. You never know. So you got to be subscribed for that. But we have some other great stuff coming up tonight. Watch along.
Yep.
Bills, Texans. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to try something new on Sunday. You want to try to explain what's going on Sunday?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of people that kind of they just want a kind of hangout venue, a chat room almost, like back in the day. Throwing things back to, the late 90s. People just want a chat room in order to communicate during the football games. So rather than go live and do a show on a watch-along because, we're trying to pay attention and write notes and, study during all the games so we can do a show on Monday, we're going to have, a live stream that's basically just going to serve as a venue for the chat box, right? It's going to be just a stream of nothing, effectively, like a blank studio, or we haven't figured out what it's even going to be a picture of. But basically, it's just going to be a YouTube platform so that the chat box can be live for the entire slate of games, and people, including us, can hang out in the chat box and drop messages and do whatever.
So we'll have the live stream right here on the Check the Mic channel.
Yeah.
We'll just be going
Correct.
all day Sunday. Start in the morning, start before the games. We'll go all the way through our live watch-along. So everybody can just drop in as you please.
Right.
It's like an open house.
We may have thousands of people in the chat, or we may have 4. Who knows?
It could be fives of fives people. Tens of tens in the chat.
Could be
and we'll drop in.
Multiple people in the chat.
We'll drop in every now and then. Pick of Steve in the elf costume. We got something else with the elf costume. We have some plans with the elf costumes as well. We'll be announcing that very, very soon. So yeah, we'll be dropping in on Sunday. We'll drop in here and there and leave our comments and just see how it goes. And so all day stream on Sunday, and then for members tonight, watch along. We doing the free 30 minutes?
Yeah,
to start. So it'll be open to all. And then it'll be members only as we watch Bills Texans tonight. Looking forward to that one. We got a picks update here, Sam?
Yes. The 2 leagues we've got running through Sleeper, through the Discord. The Survivor pool is the same 27 people remaining as were remaining last week. We lost nobody in Week 11. The Pick'em pool, though, is emerging into something of a 2-horse race at the top. I'm desperately hoping this guy doesn't win because his name is a pain in the ass to say. Maxwell 81798 is top with 101 wins. Second is Maddox 29 with 100 wins. But those guys are 3 clear of third. So it's becoming that 2-horse race at the top. I have 89 wins, which is tied for 34th. You have 79, 10 back of me, and Harry has 75, bringing up the rear of the 3 of us.
Yeah, the kid's struggling. He had a rough week.
Rough week.
I had my best week. Felt like I didn't put a dent in anything. So here we are.
When you slip that far back, it's going to take a while to claw out of that.
I need like 11 wins per week here. I'm the Chiefs.
Yeah, there's
need to
very
win
little
out.
margin for error at this point.
to win out here. I'm the Chiefs without the previous success. Anyway, appreciate everybody being in the Discord and getting your picks in every single week. All right, you ready to go? Mm-hmm. It all starts Week 12, Thursday Night Football. Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans. Bills favored by 5.5 here. Texans just got back to 500 at 5-5. Bills at 7-3. When we talk about margin for error, if the Bills, the favorite in the AFC East coming into the season, if they would like to win that division, as they have for the past, 6 years, then they really can't slip up given the Patriots schedule. So every game's huge for them, and every game is very close to an elimination game for the Houston Texans when it comes to the playoff picture. So, and honestly, if you think about it here, a Houston win puts them within a half game of Buffalo for a wild card spot. So massive playoff implications here. And it's another game without C.J. Stroud starting for the Texans.
And that's obviously critical. For the Texans, I mean, they're in the mix for that third wild card spot. I would say the division's basically gone at this point, not completely, but pretty close. The wild card, though, will remain open for a while, I think, just because that third wild card spot in the AFC is kind of chaotic. I mean, Kansas City, Baltimore / Pittsburgh, Houston, these are all teams vying for that third wild card spot, and they're all at or around 500. So even a loss here, I mean, obviously it's a blow, but it's not death for the Houston season. The problem is, you really would like to win this game, and you don't have your quarterback. That's obviously a huge blow.
Yeah, I think Davis Mills has been all right in his time. Right? He had the massive comeback against the Jacksonville Jaguars from 29-10 in the fourth quarter. Mills made some huge throws there. And then last week, he makes the huge 3rd and 16 pass to Nico Collins along the sideline. So if anything, I mean, Mills is just another one of those clutch quarterbacks in the fourth quarter. He's playing the Bo Nix game. He's playing the kind of J.J. McCarthy game, but not as bad early on. So there's something to that, right? The fact that Mills has helped lead both of those fourth quarter comebacks each of these last couple weeks. The other interesting thing about this matchup for me, I mentioned it yesterday when we were talking Josh Allen and his FanDuel rushing prop. Josh Allen went 9 for 30 against Houston last year. And it was I think it was the worst he's thrown the ball in the last 4 or 5 years. There were also, I think there was a drop in there, like a big drop down the field, but he missed. Remember last year we kept saying, look, Houston's defense is really good, in part because this whole meshing the pass rush and coverage. But if you want to pick on their coverage unit, there was 1 or 2 plays per game where dudes were wide open behind the safeties. The Bills had a couple of those. Mac Hollins just behind the defense last year, and Allen missed him. Now, again, as far as like team defense goes, sometimes it's because you're pressured, you're hurried, your internal clock is sped up because you're facing the Texans, because you know Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are coming after you, and that's good team defense. But my point is the back seven was allowing some of these opportunities, and Allen was missing them. So he finished 9 for 30 last year in that game with some questionable decision-making and some inaccuracy issues. So I'm curious about that because on paper, Houston, with the 2 outside corners, Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, they have been outstanding on those outside receivers. They're some of the best in the league, but you always mention how Buffalo is almost equipped to not even – first off, they're not built to win on the outside as much, but they're equipped to attack teams in the middle of the field, which is where you would want to attack Houston. So on paper, Buffalo should have some answers against this Texans pass defense, but they certainly did not have them last year.
Yeah, and even the way Josh Allen was playing last week, that always feels tight-ropey, and Allen's one of the few quarterbacks that you think can actually make that tightrope act work, and he did last week. But the Texans' defense is so good. I think when you get forced into that type of defense, like it feels like the game he had against them last time is entirely plausible based off the way he played last week if he wants to try and repeat that trick.
Wow, did we – oh, look at this. Look at Mohall dropping some memberships in the chat here. He's calling it a Dewey's Fund. He wants us to order Dewey's.
Dewey's is good.
The local pizza. Portnoy's coming into town to test pizza too, by the way.
Yeah.
As a quick aside.
Dewey's presumably is a chain of some description.
It's a chain
on the basis that everything is a chain.
St. Francis a Pizza over by me is the best pizza that I found in town so far.
Is that a chain?
It is not.
There you go.
It's a New York pizza place that has dropped. Did you want me to get St. Francis a Pizza tonight for the watch along?
I mean, I'm not going to say no.
Okay. We've got the funds. I'll take them out of the check the mic funds, order some pizza, and it'll be on Mohall.
Perfect.
On Mohall. Appreciate it. We'll get
people like this is. I'm busy here trying to calorie restrict before Christmas, get down to the playing weight, and people are throwing pizza and baked goods, and it's impossible.
So generally, as we are watching the watch along, I'll be watching the pass rush, as always, from the Houston Texans. I love that side of the ball. As long as Houston can be okay offensively, and they've run the ball, a little hit or miss as far as Woody Marks, who's run the ball well, and Buffalo got run all over by Tampa Bay last week, and in some of their games, Miami 2 weeks ago. I mean, the only team that really didn't exploit them in the run over the last few weeks was Kansas City in the game where they beat the Chiefs. So if the Texans can run the ball a little bit on that side of the ball, and then just watching that Houston pass rush go up against this Buffalo offensive line that's had great continuity over the last couple of years, done a nice job. Can they create some negative plays on Josh Allen, who's taken a few more sacks than he has previously? And then the other thing about Allen that I wanted to mention, because you said the tightrope walk that he was walking last week. I mean, it felt early last week. End zone interception from his own end zone, and he's trying the lateral play. It felt like he was pressing in Josh Allen pressing style. It doesn't, compare that to like Sam Darnold. As soon as Sam Darnold makes this off balance throw with bad footwork early, I'm thinking, oh boy, this could be a long one for Darnold. Not that he can't bounce back from that, but those tend to spiral for him. With Allen, it was more like he's trying to do too much. It doesn't mean it's all going to go sour, but there's, after last year, he did such a much better job of taking care of the ball. It's almost like, all right, get on my shoulders, let's go.
Yeah.
I want to see how Allen handles it early. Does he try to make, Superman plays early in this game?
I mean, Allen has like something ridiculous, like 6 turnover-worthy plays on the season, but 2 of them came last week. Like a third of his turnover-worthy type plays came against the Bucs, and his average depth of target was through the moon. Like it felt like you said, it felt like that game again, or the practice we saw against Chicago, where he was just like trying to do stuff. Let's just see if I can fit this crazy pass in deep down the field between a safety and a corner. It was like he was doing that in the game, in a regular season game, where there are consequences to, not getting it right. And to be fair, he got it right for the majority of the game. I mean, the stat line was insane. The overall production was nuts. But, does that – I don't know if you can do that against this Houston defense, I think is the overall point. Now, maybe that was just a one-off game randomly against Tampa Bay. But if he wants to try and do that again this week, I feel like there will be significant negative consequences, in addition to probably also – some positive ones.
I think it's going to be different schematically for Buffalo as well, right? When you're going up against Todd Bowles' defense, they had 2 touchdowns where they had running backs isolated on defensive ends. You're exploiting mismatches in their blitz scheme. With Houston, you're going to see a lot more 4-man rush. I think you're going to need to see a more patient Josh Allen take what's there underneath. You're probably not going to win a bunch of reps on the outside against those corners. You probably need to win a couple here and there, but I think it has to be more of a patient, take what's there underneath type of game for Josh Allen, and then, don't put the ball on the turf when the pressure gets there and everything. So,
yep.
Buffalo also, by the way, they've got the monster injury report. And when half the team is questionable, I have no idea what ends up happening there.
Yeah. A lot of people on the injury report for them. And again, we've said before, like for the last few weeks, that defensive line in particular has been getting chipped away at, eroded. It's not, what it used to be earlier in the season, despite them trying to reinforce that group. So it is a potential concern for them.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. We hope you guys join us tonight. It's Bills-Texans. Bills favored by 5.5. We'll be here in studio with the full watch along here. Where are you going with this one?
So I, for some reason, clicked on this game weeks ago on the Sleeper app. I think just because we're doing the watch along thing. So I've got it at a line that's like nowhere near what it is right now. So in the app, I went with Buffalo. But at the time, I think Houston was favored. Now Buffalo's favored by 5.5 points.
Wait a second. Can you just pick everything in the Sleeper app weeks ahead?
It seems like you can, yes. Anyway, I'm going with Buffalo regardless, even though they're now 5.5 point favorites, according to our lines. Either way, I'm going with them.
I have Buffalo by 2.5.
Yeah.
And now it's Buffalo by 5.5.
Correct.
Okay.
Because the quarterback's not.
So how does the app work? You could just click it weeks in advance and it's locked in? Because every game has a line.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're locked in. I mean,
so as soon as you make a pick, is that line like I can do Christmas games right now? Like
Right.
Detroit's favored by 3.
yeah, I think you can just get Detroit 3, which you probably should be doing
gonna
if you
click it right
if you
now.
actually want to game the system. But who
Yeah,
knows?
but you don't know. Like Jared Goff could be hurt by then.
And
And
then you change it. Like you
True.
should make a pick and lock yourself into whatever line that is, and then if you want to go the other way, you come back and flip it.
real line's 5.5 today for Buffalo. It's also 43.5 over under. I know you've got the backup quarterback in Davis Mills for the Houston Texans, but pretty low number for a Bills game for a team that's averaging over 30 again this year. So on the 5.5 though, who you actually taking?
I'm still taking Buffalo.
Buffalo at 5.5. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Houston. It's the home dogs here. This is probably a mistake. You know what the mistake is? No, I'm going Buffalo. The mistake is sometimes you get, not that Mills was great last week, but he's made some huge throws these last couple weeks. Sometimes you get like 2 games of the backup quarterback, and as soon as you start believing in him, you remember that he's a backup.
Right, the wheels fall off.
By game 3 or 4. Could see some of that tonight. I'll take Buffalo, and Harry will also take Buffalo. He's going to be banned from picks really soon, though. Going to get do Teddy. Teddy will get picks next year.
Nice.
Get my
Yeah.
He'll be 9. He's 9 in a couple weeks here. He's ready.
First son didn't work out. It's time to go to the second one. Perfect.
Your inheritance has been passed off to Teddy. He gets to be on the show.
It's just like, I mean, that's perfect. Like, it's like a medieval system, right? It's like the first one didn't work out.
If
He's
Harry
going to
doesn't,
go.
that's what it's like. No, it's more of like a relegation system.
Well, the first one wasn't the son we were hoping for, right? He's going to go join the priesthood. The second one will now inherit the castles and stuff, right? The titles.
If Harry doesn't finish in the top 300,
And then
he's
the third
relegated.
one has to go off on crusade.
Benny.
Yeah,
Benny's an
because
animal.
there's nothing left for him, right? That's the way it works.
Benny
Don't blame
better-
me. This is the way the system is.
Benny eats more than any of them. He better find a way to bring some money into the house. Kid eats all day. All right. That was a good game. Good stuff. Got no more use for that one. Tampa Bay Bucks at the Los Angeles Rams. It's Sunday Night Football. This will be fun in LA. Rams favored by 6.5. Over-unders 49.5 from Fanduel. Rams 8-2 against the 6-4 Bucks. Because we're at that time of the year where I like scenario analysis here and everything, Bucks are a half game up in the South. So if they lose to the Rams and the Panthers, who are playing on Monday Night Football, we'll talk about them in about 2.5 hours. If the Panthers win, they're in first place. If the Bucks lose here.
Yeah, I mean the Bucks are in danger of becoming. They're in danger of their season kind of falling away. It's not. They're not like Miami and Dallas from a couple of years ago where they only beat bad teams and lose to good teams. They have lost to good teams. You know, Philadelphia, Detroit, Buffalo, and New England are their losses right now. So that's a pretty good. But they've also beaten Seattle, who look very good, and the 49ers, who are a little bit hit or miss. But this is like their schedule is tough for this one more game. You know, this is the last one they need to get through, and then they go on an easier run of Arizona, New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina twice, and Miami. It would suck if they lost 3 consecutive games against these good teams, but they're in real danger of it.
Yeah, I like looking at PFF's power rankings to just show where the schedule was to this point and where it is going forward. I think it tells a good story. So Tampa Bay's had the 11th most difficult schedule to this point. A week from now, that probably jumps up to 7th or 8th or 9th. I don't know how much the Rams move that. But going forward, Tampa Bay has the 29th easiest schedule, or hardest schedule. So one of the easiest is what I should say. So they've had one of the hardest schedules. And as I think you pointed out, well, you get through this game, and it's much easier on paper. So that's what's fun about the NFL season. It feels like, what's wrong with this team? And sometimes it's just, I don't know, you face good teams for the last 3 weeks. Same thing with the Chiefs, right? You just played a lot of good teams. You played Buffalo and Denver, 2 straight games, and you lost to some good teams, and it's going to be easier going forward. So,
and they were good games. Like they were back and forth with New England. They were back and forth with Buffalo until that game went away from them right at the end. But like that was a nuts game where it was a lead change every 4 seconds. Like it's not like they're getting wrecked by these good teams.
Yeah, and so for the Bucs in particular, there's definitely some inconsistency with the passing attack. And again, you could say, hey, you've run into a more difficult stretch, or you could say this is, post Mike Evans. But early in the season, you could also just look at the underlying metrics early in the season. I thought Baker Mayfield got away with a whole bunch of bad decisions that didn't show up on the stat sheet early on. and then they were surviving games. Remember, they only won the Houston game on Monday Night Football because Baker had to convert like a 4th and 10 with a scramble, right? And so they were threading the needle early on. We said, that, hey, that's a positive because of all your injuries, everything you have going on, but they're still threading the needle. A scramble here and there, a 4th down conversion here and there. Like, that's how they won some of those games. You still give credit to that, but it's just really tough to sustain. So they need to get Emeka Egbuka back in there. I saw people breaking down how much he was getting attention from Buffalo's defense. And so that's going to be a huge key here. The fact that the Bucs are, they've been down Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for the majority of the season. And Egbuka is great. He's been an awesome rookie, but now you're talking about he's this alpha number one, making Baker Mayfield get to his other options, and they have to find some answers against this Rams defense.
Yeah, I mean, it does leave them with the receiving core the way it is until people get healthy. It does mean that you can go after Egbuka as the number one guy, give him all your attention, and then just force him anywhere else, right? And while the other guys are nice complement pieces, if you're forcing the offense to function through Sterling Shepard or Cade Otton or Tez Johnson, it's probably not going to work that well. So that, I think, is the clear game plan for opposing defenses right now. Yeah, it is funny the way that, we were sort of wondering, sure, they might lose later in the season on the basis that the stuff they're doing through the first few weeks is unsustainable. On the other hand, they're going to get a bunch of guys back and be healthier, and maybe that will net out, and it will be a positive overall. The offensive line has gotten a lot healthier. You've got Tristan Wirfs back in the lineup. You've got Luke Gedeke back in the lineup at right tackle. That puts Graham Barton back where he should be, the middle of the offensive line. So the offensive line is so much better than it was earlier in the season. But that receiving core is still banged up. So without Evans, now you can give Egbuka all the attention, and there's just not enough outside of him for that group to be really good.
Love watching this Rams defensive line. I think they do a great job, freeing up their pass rushers on stunts and twists. They create a little bit of indecision on the offensive line, but also, could win their one-on-ones. So they've done a really nice job. Really the last year and a half. Remember, this was the time of the year where the Rams defense really started to hit their stride last year, right toward the end. The last 6 or 7 weeks of the season haven't really slowed up since that point. And then, offensively with the Rams, I know they won last week. You made the point, hey, it's kind of an even game, right? They forced the 4 turnovers on Darnold, but if you go
right.
snap for snap, it was a great back-and-forth battle. And in Seattle's strong defense did a nice job against the Rams, right? They had to deal with some short fields. The Rams, they got Devontae Adams 1 catch, but it was only on 7. They had the 1 touchdown in the red zone, but they had a tough time connecting on anything else. So I think that's going to be a fun matchup as well. See if Stafford, who's played great this year, can maintain that MVP level of play. Currently, the number 1 overall PFF grade because Sam Darnold tanked last week.
Well, they both tanked each other's MVP case. It was the roughest game, I think, for both quarterbacks this season playing against each other.
I mean, I don't think Stafford's case took a huge hit just because they won. He's still, touchdown to interception ratio is still the biggest trigger, I think, in fans and sometimes voters' brains. You still have a 27-2 for Stafford. He's 2013 Nick Foles, 27 touchdowns and 2 picks. That's still and it's not fake. He's done a really nice job of taking care of the ball this year, and they've been outstanding as far as the pass game goes in the red zone. So I don't know if it's fully tanked.
No, but he came off a game where he completed 50-something% of his passes for 130 yards.
Yeah.
It didn't, that's not your standard MVP game.
It's not, but you're allowed, if that's your dud, like I said, Allen, in an MVP season, Allen went 9 for 30. In an MVP season, Aaron Rodgers, he had his dud against the Bucs with pick sixes and one of his worst games of his career. So you're allowed those. But yeah, Stafford and the Rams pass game and then their run game against the Bucs, right? The Bucs run defense has been interesting where they're generally good in between the tackles or downhill type of runs, but you can get on the edge with them. We saw Travion Henderson with 2 long touchdowns a couple weeks ago. So we'll see what the Rams get going there, and especially the Rams in their 13 personnel. If they go that route, the phone booth game feels a little bit better for the way the Bucs want to play, and then just the overall matchups. Right, the Bucs linebackers have had some struggles in coverage, and McVay's been great at just exploiting every opposing defense this year and seeing how those matchups play out here.
Yep.
All right, man. It's Sunday night. Chris is going to talk. He's going to talk about 13 personnel a lot. Right? That's my prediction.
Won't that be fun?
We need a 13 personnel over/under. It's going to be great. This is like I could already feel the battle between Chris and the producers. Right? They don't want him to say 3 technique. They don't want him to talk about 13 personnel. We got a lot of 13 personnel. He's going to have to explain it. What the heck does this mean? Grandma's got to understand it. But get ready. We're going to be talking a lot about what the Rams are doing offensively on Sunday night.
And then I think Seattle showed a different way of handling that to other teams. So I wonder if Tampa Bay will take anything from that. That the Seahawks did not let themselves get baited into going heavy against that 13 personnel looks. By the way, also you've got Tyler Higbee's hurt, so your 13 personnel. They still have the tight ends to do it, but one of them is no longer there. Seattle stayed light, and because they've got guys like Eminwari who can help match up. I wonder if Tampa Bay learns from that, or if they're going to go and do the same thing and be like, "Nah, we 13 personnel, panic, linebackers, heavy," and that's what the Rams want you to do.
All right, man. It's Rams by 6.5. Sunday Night Football over under 49.5. Where are you going to go with this one?
We go with the Rams. I think it might be one more rough week for Tampa Bay before they bounce back. And
the sky is falling, but then they play
Carolina's going to end up in first place in the division heading down the stretch.
They have to beat San Francisco Monday night. We'll see. I'll take Tampa Bay. 6.5 feels like a lot. I'm going to take the Bucs to at least keep it close here. Harry's going to take the Rams. Let's go Sunday, 4:25. Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles favored by 3.5. Rematch from Week 1. Eagles-Cowboys. Over-under is 47.5 by Fanduel. Cowboys up to 4-5-1 now on the season. 8-2 for the Eagles, tied with the Rams at 8-2 in the NFC with the tiebreaker for the number 1 seed. That's the other thing at stake every single week here when it comes to the Eagles, comes to the Rams. And then Dallas, they're a pivotal stretch for them. They came off the bye. They've got coming off the tragedy of Marshawn Nealand. You had some roster changes with Quinnen Williams and guys coming back from injury on the defensive side of the ball. But they looked good against the Raiders on Monday night. Now Dallas has Philadelphia this week, short week, Thanksgiving game against the Chiefs, and then they come back the following Thursday against the Lions. This next 3 weeks essentially will determine the Cowboys season.
Yeah. There's still a lot of unknowns with this Dallas defense in particular. They were very good against the Raiders. There's 2 elements to that. Number one, how much of that is just the Raiders have a joke of an offensive line and anyone would look good against them? And then number 2, what kind of impact did the emotion of that week and the Marshawn Nealand tragedy have on them? And is that a one-off thing? Is that a sustainable thing? Are they going to be playing hard for him all season long? Was that a one game where they just whatever happens, we got to be good today, for Marshawn? I don't know what kind of impact that has on them. But they have a chance to go on a run now and, try and rescue their season. They are right on the fringes of playoff odds. They're there's a sort of a line of demarcation between the teams that are definitely in contention and then the teams that really aren't. And right in the middle of that line is sort of Carolina, Dallas. So they're kind of still alive. I think people wrote them off because they were so bad earlier in the season, but they've just about hung in there. And now, with the upgrades they've got on defense, with Quinnen Williams coming in via trade, with, players getting back from injury like Overshown and Revel, they've got a lot of reinforcements along that defense. And it shouldn't have been as bad as it was, historically bad to start the year. And the offense is great. That part has always been good this season. So if the defense just gets back to being okay, it doesn't even need to be good. If it's just not an embarrassment, they're dangerous.
This has a chance to be a really good game. It was in Week 1. It was. I think we all expected the Eagles to control the game, but the Cowboys had a fourth-quarter comeback attempt, a couple passes that hit CeeDee Lamb in the hands that got dropped. Remember how well Dak was playing under pressure early in the season. And now, if we're being honest about George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, Pickens is playing, he's been a more dependable go-to guy for the Cowboys. It's not a knock on CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens has just been so good. So now you've got that 1-2 punch on the outside there. The Eagles, you still would rather go to Adoree Jackson and attack him opposite Quinyon Mitchell, and the Cowboys have the receivers to do that, right? They have the receivers to create those whatever mismatches they're looking for. And I'm interested, right? I mean, in what Quinnen Williams does for this team, right? The Eagles have not had the type of run game that they had last year. Quinnen Williams has been one of the better run defenders in the league this year. You bring him in, and as I think I said it on the recap show the other day, if we were in off-season mode here and we were just looking at the Dallas defense and saying, what do they need? Where are their strengths? Where are their weaknesses? As I often do, just rattle off the two deep or, the top 8 defensive linemen. It's not a bad group now, just in names and in potential, right? Like on the edge with Jadeveon Clowney and second rounder Donovan Ezeraku, both good players. The defensive tackle trio now of Osa Odighizuwa, Quinnen Williams, and Kenny Clark, and what you're able to do with those guys. So there's 6 or 7 deep. James Houston still there. There's 6 or 7 deep on the defensive line. And the team that still has, they were getting crushed in the pass game, but, awful run defense. For one game, they looked good, but it's the Raiders. This is a good one. I mean, if they have a game where Saquon goes, 20 carries for 50 yards and they do make the Eagles one-dimensional, I think it gives them a chance. And the Eagles have had plenty of those games like this year.
Yeah.
Where they've had no run game and they still find a way to win, right? They've won with explosive pass game against Minnesota. They've won these terrible defensive games these last couple weeks. The Eagles can win every type of game. But I think Dallas is far more equipped to at least stop the run and then give them a chance and say, all right, try your low percentage outside the numbers passes. And if you miss a couple, we've got a chance to win this game. I think we're going to see a good battle on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, look, all is not well with this Philadelphia offense. The defense is playing spectacular football right now. The offense is not in a good place, and you're hearing a lot of kind of just negative things generally about this whole thing. Obviously, there was the A.J. Brown dynamic and how important or otherwise is his displeasure. But there were also reports after that generally people are not really happy with the way Jalen Hurts is sort of handling the whole thing. And normally I wouldn't pay too much attention to that, but everyone was kind of pretty clear that the guy making that report, I forget his name, is like the Philadelphia insider. Like if he says something, it's worth listening to him. And he was sort of saying, again, it's all sort of veiled and nothing quite concrete, but like people are not tremendously happy with the way Jalen Hurts is handling the way this offense is not firing on all cylinders right now. All that just to say, with no Lane Johnson now at right tackle, one of the best offensive linemen in the game, with a displeased wide receiver 1, with a quarterback that apparently is not pulling everyone on the same page and getting things together, it is a vulnerable offense right now, going up against a defense that is motivated, is better than it was before, while the other side of the ball is strength on strength, like Philadelphia's defense and Dallas's offense. So I think it becomes a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, I mean, great points, and this is why I think it's going to be a fun game. I think a lot of times you get these division games, and it's like, it's stale. I've seen this before. I think it's going to be a good one because Maybe I'm naive thinking that the Dallas defense is going to get better, but I think they've made some interesting moves and had the injury returns to get there, right, and at least make it more competitive. And then you have Philadelphia's defense, and every team that faces Philly, the next question is like, man, what's wrong with this offense? What's wrong with the Lions? What's wrong with the Packers? Right? Everybody's scratching their head. What's wrong with our offense? Well, maybe you just ran into the Eagles.
Yeah.
Right? They've got, speed at linebacker, their pass rush, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. And I mean, they've been getting after it. And then they just do such a good job, right? When you think about Fangio and it's supposed to be this like too high shell, it's this quarter-centric defense where they keep the top on the D and they don't give you a whole bunch of downfield throws. And that's what I always visualize with Fangio. They don't give you the deep stuff. They give you the underneath stuff, which is my oversimplification of the Fangio scheme. But when you watch the game, everything underneath is contested. It's tight. They don't bust coverages a whole lot. They're in the right place at the right time, and they just make every single drop back difficult. They batted a bunch of passes against Goff the other night. And I say all that to say, Dak did a really nice job in Week 1 to move the ball for the Cowboys. Again, they were a couple drops away from pulling the upset back in the opening night game when we had our first watch along. So I think it's going to be fun on both sides of the ball. Eagles defense against the Cowboys offense will be great theater. And then, we'll see if the Cowboys defense can make some improvements here down the stretch.
Another big difference, obviously, from that Week 1 is that presumably Jalen Carter won't get himself ejected from the game after a snap. So you might see him for most of the game going up against a couple of offensive linemen for Dallas that you would say Jalen Carter has a significant advantage over.
It's a good point. The original spitgate of this year was Jalen Carter getting tossed before the game. So, and then keep an eye on Lane Johnson, as you mentioned. Fred Johnson has filled in fairly well over the last couple of years. I think they've still run the offense. He hasn't been a massive weakness, and they wanted him enough as their swing tackle or their backup right tackle that they traded. He went to Jacksonville for training camp, came back, and they traded for him back in August, I believe, or early in the season. So for times like this, they brought Fred Johnson back.
Yeah, which felt more like an indictment on the series of sort of project players that they had at that spot. It's like, hey, all those guys that we got as projects for Stoutland to do his work with, well,
they're still projects.
About that.
They brought in
We're going to need Fred back.
Yeah, so they brought him back. So keep an eye on that move for the Eagles here in the coming weeks. All right, man, Sunday at 4:25, Eagles by 3.5. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go with Dallas.
I am too.
I'm buy into this resurgence for at least a game.
I've talked myself into this. So this 3-game stretch for the Cowboys. Sunday the Eagles, Thursday Chiefs, next Thursday Lions. Determine the season for the 4-5-1 Cowboys. I'll take Dallas as home underdogs, and Harry's going to take the Eagles. Another huge game on Sunday, Indianapolis Colts at the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Sunday at 1 o'clock window for the Chiefs here. Chiefs favored by 3.5. Over-under is 49.5 per Fanduel. It's the 8-2 Colts coming off their bye against the 5-5 Chiefs. A massive game.
Yeah.
Playoff implications here.
The only way this should be a 1 p.m. game is if it's Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, and we're just trying to bury them in the 1 p.m. window, in which case I support it.
You're hoping for that.
Yeah, I endorse it in that scenario. In any other scenario, it should be the second window at the minimum.
Chiefs coming off of 2 straight losses now. They had the Bills, then a bye, lose to the Broncos. They're sitting here at 5-5. Now they're another team where the schedule should get easier. Like they have at least some gimmies on the schedule. They have the Titans, they have the Raiders still to come, but there might not be a bigger game in the Mahomes era when it comes to playoff implications. I got to find the stat here. Our old friend Timo Riska yesterday tweeting, probably for the first time since 2017, the Chiefs have the highest playoff leverage of the week.
Yeah.
And so for their general playoff leverage, I mean, they're roughly a win puts them almost 70% chance to make the playoffs. A loss puts them about 30%. So that's how significant this game is for Kansas City. A win, they're about 70%. A loss, they're about 30% chance just to make the playoffs. And if the Chiefs are sitting there with a 5-6 next to their name coming out of this week, oh boy, that's going to be it's still jarring seeing them at 5-5 at this point.
Yeah, well, because of the success they've had. I mean, whatever about the highest playoff leverage of the week, this is probably the highest playoff leverage they've had during the Mahomes era. Because they've never been in playoff trouble really before. They've always been fairly comfortably cruising to the division. This is probably the most at risk their playoff lives have been since Patrick Mahomes has been their quarterback, which is pretty crazy. Particularly because, by a bunch of measures, they're no worse than they were a year ago. Like, a lot of underlying data says they're basically the same football team, and yet they're coming out in the crappy end of every one of these one-score games instead of the good end.
Just losing all the one-score games.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. But I think because of that, nobody's panicking yet. Nobody, thinks, well, this season it's in desperate straits, even if they lose to some good teams and beat some bad teams, they're still in the mix and still firmly capable of it. And I mean, they're favored for this game, right? Like they're still
favored by 3.5, which is, I believe they were favored by 3.5 last week against Denver.
Right.
Same.
And we're out here, against one of the better teams in the NFL, saying they can and should apparently still go out and beat them.
So I think on storyline-wise, things to keep an eye on here. The last 2 times we've seen Daniel Jones, we saw him against...
Pumpkin watch?
What's that?
Pumpkin watch?
Pumpkin watch. Oh, boy. I mean, look, if you are... It depends on how you want to view this stuff. Sam Darnold just had his, 4 interceptions, his big turnover game. He had elements of that to his game, Darnold. And so a lot of times in our brain, we're like, hey, this guy wasn't good before. He's on a good stretch. It can't last. It can't last, right? And Darnold has mostly bucked the trend for about a year and a half. He's been very good for the most part, but you still have those bad games. And then if we're fair, it's like, yeah, well, Josh Allen has bad games. Mahomes, like guys that we think are elite, they also have bad games. Doesn't mean that they're turning back into a pumpkin. But I do believe there are some concerns with Daniel Jones, right? Multiple fumbles. He had, 6 fumbles in the last 2 games. Some are tough to avoid. You're in your throwing motion. Some are just late in the down, and he's putting the ball on the turf. He's throwing the ball to the defense a bunch. And that was against Pittsburgh 3 weeks ago, and then Atlanta in Germany 2 weeks ago. Then they had the bye. In the Atlanta game, Pittsburgh game, they lost by 7, but I don't even think it was that close. It was because of the turnovers that they lost. And then in the Atlanta game, they survived. They win in overtime, but man, they made it close because of the turnover. So I got to keep an eye on that. I think Daniel Jones played excellent, efficient football the first 10 or so weeks of the season, 9 weeks of the season, whatever it was. Very efficient football, great playmakers. I think Jonathan Taylor could be the run game could be the actual X factor in this game for the Colts. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But Daniel Jones on these third downs, where early in the year, remember he had a big 3rd and 17 scramble. He's made some huge plays on third down. That's where Bo Nix won. Last week, that's where the quarterback who's on paper shouldn't be as good as Mahomes, but he makes these big plays, and you look back and it's like, man, Bo Nix made some huge plays on third down to get this win for the Broncos. That's what the Colts are going to need from Daniel Jones, and they certainly can't have the turnover-worthy plays that he's had the last couple times out.
Yeah, that's critical. I think the thing is he's already turned it back into a pumpkin. The thing is the pumpkin is good enough. They only needed the pumpkin. They didn't need, the fancy carriage. The first few weeks of the season, he had this like crazy, 9.5 yards per attempt type of production, and that was probably never likely to be his baseline. Basically, since that point, that's leveled off fairly reasonably. And now he's just the same guy he's always been, only he's in a way better situation. And that's why that's all it needed. Like we were saying this heading into the season, that think about it, this is the best receiving core, definitely offensive line, and probably coaching ticket that's ever been around Daniel Jones. Those are the 3 things that support a quarterback's performance. And so logically, this would likely be the best season you've ever seen from Daniel Jones, or at least one of them. And it is. But even if it just repeats, let's say he just doubles his first half of the season with the second half, it wouldn't be night and day better than anything you've seen from him before. It would just be, about what you'd expect it to go up numbers-wise based off improving those 3 pillars of his support system. And I think the important thing is all they need is for him to just be that. They don't need him to be a great quarterback. They just need him to be Daniel Jones and not have bad games, not have the terrible game. Like where it becomes a problem is the last couple of weeks where it's like you have 4 or 5 turnover-worthy plays and you really do put the ball in harm's way. Well, then we actually need some really positive stuff on the other end to try and offset those big negative plays. If you just avoid massive screw-ups, just get the ball to Jonathan Taylor and to Tyler Warren and to, just don't make a mess of it.
So, yeah, I think the other couple interesting things there with Jones, like if he takes care of the ball, they have a chance to move the ball against Kansas City, right? It's if you're given 9 or 10 possessions, you can't give away 2 or 3 of them. The Chiefs, you mentioned how the Bills really exploited their linebackers in coverage a couple weeks ago in the middle of the field. Tyler Warren, right? The Colts, when they're targeting tight ends, 10.8 yards per play, that's second in the league. They're down at 9th yards per play and on all other throws. The Chiefs are 26th in yards per play allowed against tight ends. So I think Tyler Warren could be huge in this game. You got to have his weekly tight end screen, but remember they'll use him. I pull out the best Tyler Warren plays. Give him a yoink play, give him a screen, let him line up in the backfield. They've set him up at fullback enough this year that I think you could do it like once a year, the old fullback seam, right? You play action, get him up the seam. Like I would pull out the best of Tyler Warren and say, this dude, just like last year against USC, he had like 19. It was either 19 targets or 19 catches. It was insane. It was like, this guy's going to win the game for us. Honestly, if I'm the Colts and I'm trying to get Daniel Jones back on track, the QB's best friend being the QB-friendly tight end. I would go heavy Tyler Warren here. And then I think when you look at Jonathan Taylor, I think where's the run defense for the Chiefs, just in a vacuum, like it's okay, like middle of the pack when it comes to EPA and everything. And when you face the Raiders, EPA was negative 0.83. It was only a handful of plays, but the Raiders almost lost an entire point every time they handed off against the Chiefs. So I think, and the Chiefs did a nice job against the Broncos last week from a run defense perspective, but the times that they've, been given up a little bit against the run, Eagles, Bills, the Giants got them a little bit when they started going to Scattaboo. Chiefs did a pretty good job against the Lions and their good run game. So I think overall Spags in that defense, they do a nice job against the run, against bad run defense, rush offenses. But I do think Jonathan Taylor and this offensive line, they've got a chance to have some success. And even though the Chiefs' offense isn't what it was 4 or 5 years ago, you still, and the Chiefs play this shorten the game type of deal. I think the teams that give the Chiefs the most problems are the teams that get 4 yards here and 6 yards there, and the long sustainable drives, and they just tighten the game up enough, and then you hope you win at the end. So I think Jonathan Taylor has a chance to have some success, and Tyler Warren, and then Daniel Jones just has to, when the Spags blitz comes, right? You can't put the ball on the turf. You can't make those bad decisions.
So can, Spags' scheme and that defense and that blitz, can they dial up bad Daniel Jones plays? Can they cause him to panic? Can they cause him to make a couple of big mistakes in the game? Or, get to him and force fumbles, right? Like that's the other element of Daniel Jones, that if pass protection becomes a problem, which is not necessarily an offensive line thing, it can be a protection thing, just a mistake, a mental error as opposed to anything else. But he doesn't necessarily handle that particularly well and will often make those plays significantly worse. The last 2 weeks have been bad from both those perspectives. Maybe those are just 2 bad games, but those are the types of things that Spagnuolo can force as a defensive coordinator. He might be able to force a bad Daniel Jones game as opposed to just hoping one comes along.
And then on the other side of the ball, the quick storylines to touch on here. We did a little, if you're a Chiefs fan and you want more breakdown on the Chiefs, we did stuff yesterday where we did our root insurance, tried to fix the Chiefs and explain what was wrong. And most of the time I just said, hey, just keep playing football, right? So at some point, those one-score games will go back your way. But interesting matchup here, right? The Chiefs are healthy again, right? They have all their receivers. They have Josh Simmons back at left tackle. We've got Lou Anarumo at defensive coordinator on the other side. And that was always a fun storyline when he was with the Bengals. Didn't mean he always had success against Mahomes, but he had some level of success at times when no one was having success against him. And he was doing it, remember, way back in the playoffs with the 3-man rush, and he would get into the 3-man rush with the drop 8. He would get in there in unique ways. He had the cheat code that was Trey Hendrickson, that even if you rush 3, he still might win, and so you had nowhere to throw the ball. I'm going to be interested on that side of the ball too, and Lou's always done a really nice job of making those second-half adjustments. And now you've got Sauce Gardner. Travarius Ward, not sure on his status. He's coming off the concussion. He's been back at practice. He's cleared to come back off IR. This would be the game where he could come back, and we might get to see Travarius Ward and Sauce Gardner for the first time on the outside. And the Chiefs have been awful against man coverage versus zone coverage. And that's where teams have said, hey, go win your one-on-ones and make these tight window throws, and that's where the Chiefs have struggled. So I think there's a great schematic battle on that side of the ball, especially if you have Ward and Sauce on the outside.
And I think we already saw flashes of, Sauce allows them to do more on defense. Like, you can forget about him, let him play man coverage, isolate him, and now you can start blitzing more. Now you can start doing more creative stuff throughout the rest of the defense. We saw, just glimpses of that the last time. I think you might see more of it this week.
So playoff implications are massive. We know the Colts are now battling for the number 1 seed. The Patriots are technically ahead of them. Is Denver? I keep forgetting here. Denver's 9-2 because neither team's had a bye, right? Is that right? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, because they were 8-2 heading into that game.
Right. So Denver and New England are ahead,
right?
Because they're both 9-2, but they haven't had a bye yet. So the Colts have a chance to, catch up record-wise. Once Denver and New England have a bye, and then obviously if they lose, Colts, creeping back toward the pack in the AFC South, but they control their own destiny there. And then for the Chiefs, you're literally talking about maybe not making the playoffs if you don't win this game. We said last week was huge against Denver. We know that, but this one is as big, if not bigger, going up against Indy. It's also Chiefs are 5-5. It's still a measuring stick game for Indy. Can you play these playoff caliber games in Arrowhead with everything on the line here?
Yeah, well, as I said, they're Kansas City's favorite for the game. Vegas still has faith. They are still expected to be one of the best teams in the NFL. They're still expected to make the playoffs. So, yeah, the Colts should not be looking at a 5-5 record and saying, "Oh, this is just a middling team we can expect to go and roll over." This is still a team as if they were playing the Patriots or the Broncos or any of these other teams with really good records. That's the category that Vegas puts the Chiefs in right now.
All right, man. 3.5. Chiefs are favored. Sunday at 1. Where are you going to go?
The Chiefs are still, according to Fanduel, minus 192 to make the playoffs. So they're still very much expected to be a playoff football team.
One other thing I want to mention, DeForest Buckner was placed on IR before the bye as well. So missing him. I mean, with Latu and Buckner, I think you've got the ability to create some havoc on the middle. Missing Buckner, I think, is going to be huge for Indy.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the Colts to cover that line.
All right, I'll take KC to bounce back. I hate the 3.5, though. 0-5 in these one-score games.
Yeah.
The inverse of everything that happened last year. I'll say Kansas City flips it.
This is like Mahomes.
Take Indy.
There's been this narrative the whole time through this era that, Mahomes, the Chiefs, they're just able to turn it on when it matters. The big games, the playoffs, they don't really care. They're just going to get there. And Mahomes basically said that. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to get to January, whatever. You need this kind of game to get to January. It's the rare regular season playoff type of atmosphere where if that's something you can turn on, you kind of need to turn it on here.
It is, because they still have the Chargers again, the Broncos again. I think Dallas on Thanksgiving is going to be a challenge. Like I said, they have the Titans and Raiders still on the schedule. You've got some games you're going to look and say we should win those. But if you lose against the Colts, then you really can't slip up against two division rivals, against a hungry Cowboys team. This is as close to must-win as you're going to get for the Chiefs in the regular season.
With Dallas's potential resurgence, we'll see how that goes this week. But, looking at that, you would say only Tennessee and the Raiders are, definite chalk up a win. And the Raiders have, even when they suck, they've played them hard. So who knows?
Yeah.
But Denver, the Chargers, Texans, Cowboys, Colts, these are all dangerous teams that could beat them. They don't have a whole bunch of – it's not like a cakewalk of a schedule that's they're comfortable looking at that schedule. We've got 4 or 5 wins easy. No problem. They're going to have to work at this.
So you and Harry both taking the Colts. I will take the Chiefs to cover the 3.5. All right, FanDuel has a new offer for NFL fans that you don't want to miss. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now's the perfect time to join because FanDuel's giving new customers $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. And today, talking Chiefs, we're looking at Patrick Mahomes and his over-under of 271.5 passing yards. So what are we expecting here? I think the over-under being 49.5. FanDuel, they're expecting some points in this game, given the over-under. And so 271.5 for Mahomes. Where are you going to lean on this one?
Some points. Could be a game where, if the Colts play the way they've played, it could be a game where Kansas City needs to keep pace. And you got those consistent, more aggressive deep shots that he's had this season than maybe the last couple of years with Thornton, et cetera. I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I'll take the over as well. I'll just have to hit a couple of those deep shots. I am interested to see how much man coverage the Colts, throw at them. And if it is, when you get that, sometimes you get a low completion percentage, but a high, yards per completion type of game. So just hit on a couple of those Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, use more Tyquan Thornton, by the way, deep shots. And I think he'll get there. And I think we'll see points on both sides. So, yeah, I'll take the over for Mahomes here. All right, let's go Pittsburgh Steelers at the Chicago Bears. Bears favored by 2.5 here. First place Bears in the NFC North. First place Steelers in the AFC North.
Yep.
7-3 Bears, 6-4 Steelers. And Aaron Rodgers, with his broken-ish wrist, going up against the team that he owns. He's claimed ownership over the Bears. I'm sure the Bears have not forgotten that he's claimed ownership. And just because he's got a different helmet on doesn't mean he lost the deed, right? Like, is that how that works? Does he still own the Bears? We'll find out Sunday.
Assuming he plays. Otherwise, we won't. So he's
I'm assuming he's playing.
Well, I was as well, and his comments yesterday made me a little less sure of that. I thought almost certainly he's going to play, and they'll just figure out how encumbered he is with that wrist, whatever they have to do to it, cast it up, strap it up, whatever. And we'll figure out if he can hand the ball off. He was kind of saying, look, it's basically it's going to be Tomlin's decision, et cetera, et cetera. I would assume he starts, but I'm less confident of that than I was 24 hours ago. The Bears were one of those teams you talked about before where, everyone's on the injury report. Yesterday's injury report, according to the Chicago Bears themselves. Bears PR, in fact. Jaquan Brisker, shoulder, did not participate. Kevin Byard, that one is just rest, did not participate. Tremaine Edmonds, groin, did not participate. TJ Edwards, hand/hamstring, did not participate. Grady Jarrett, also rest, did not participate. Noah Sewell, elbow, did not participate. And then a bunch of guys who were limited, Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, the secondary, basically, in addition to Darnell Wright, DeAndre Swift. Quite a lot of important players there that were either did not participate or limited, albeit at least two of them just getting rest days.
Yeah, and the Bears always, they've been dealing with a lot of their backups in the secondary for most of the season anyway. I need a weather report as well, if you're over there.
Where is this game?
Chicago. I've got feelers out for weather reporters for the show. I've got feelers out to add. Again, I'll ask the people, would you want, say, 3 weather reports per show?
3.
Every time you get to Chicago or Buffalo or Cleveland, when there's significant weather, if a hurricane's coming through, we need to know. And we need a little breakdown. So I don't know why I have so much confidence that Rodgers plays just because it's his left hand. But, again, we'll see. Mason Rudolph did a nice job in relief. He's done a nice job in relief overall for the Steelers back in 23 when he needed to and, whenever he's been given an opportunity. But their offense has been really inconsistent. They're not really winning down the field a whole lot. Last week, Rodgers had 90% of his catches, yards coming after the catch, thanks to Darnell Washington. So it's probably going to be a lot of underneath stuff and trying to create after the catch. And then the Steelers might be able to run the ball against Chicago and what they have up front.
Yeah, weather is nothing. It's inconsequential. Cool, crisp, sunny, no wind, no
bad.
precipitation.
That's just not what I'm looking for pre-Thanksgiving in Chicago. That's not what I'm looking for.
That's what it is.
Whatsoever. And then, on the Bears side, they just keep finding ways to win, man. They just keep finding ways to win. This is fair. Like every time, they're one of two teams with a negative point differential in the wins. And so enjoy the wins, producer Will. Enjoy the wins, right? It's just really tough to sustain. And then here we go. Toughest remaining schedules. Bears number 1. By the way, the Colts are number 2, if you want to add that. So 2 teams, Bears at 7-3, Colts at 8-2, had 2 of the easiest schedules to date, and they're going to be challenged quite a bit down the stretch. So I think what you see there is it's really tough to always rely on game-winning field goals or blocked field goals and always come down to the wire. It's just tough to always do that. Look at the Chiefs last year to this year. You never know when it's going to come back to bite. So I think the Bears just need to play a cleaner game overall, especially offensively. We've seen all of it, though, right? We've seen the run game. We've seen Caleb Williams take huge steps forward as far as taking care of the ball or as far as avoiding sacks and taking negative plays. They're number 1 in turnover differential. So they're doing a lot of the fundamentals. This is how you win football games. The Bears are doing that, right? Now it's a matter of down to down, a little bit more efficiency, hitting a few more throws, and continuing to mesh the run game and the pass game. And I think the Bears, have a chance to keep this going.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you also now get this look of Caleb Williams versus the guy that Caleb Williams was compared to a lot at draft time if Rodgers plays. Now it's old man version of Aaron Rodgers, so it's very, very different. But Caleb's starting to put it together in terms of, the sack rate has improved dramatically. He's shown more of the special plays actually making them as opposed to almost making them. Like, we're starting to put this thing together, and we kind of predicted that before the season, right? The first half of this year might be a bit rough, but then as the year went on, you would get Caleb and Ben Johnson more on the same page. They're putting all these, trick play looks out there, even if they're not necessarily running the trick plays yet. He's throwing Tyson Bagent out there onto the field for just whatever the look is. They're getting ready. Maybe maybe it's a year too soon for Chicago, and next year we'll really get to see what this looks like. But I am starting to get the feeling now that this Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson axis is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point, Sam. Like, my whole offseason take was, all right, this is the time of year where the Bears are going to really mesh, and the fact that they've survived so many games and they're sitting here at 7-3, like, I think there is a huge possibility, especially if they do get healthier in the secondary and do get Jalen Johnson back and everything. Like, there is a chance that the underlying metrics, the football down to down, gets better for the Bears. And to this point, being at 7-3 and being able to pull off so many of those close games, bodes well for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of these little things that are starting to go their way. For the first time, I think last week, Luther Burden was clearly ahead of Zacchaeus on the depth chart and had just taken over his snap count, his workload, and was a much bigger part of the offense. I think overall that's a good thing for them. We've seen Colson Loveland be a much bigger part of this offense in the last few weeks than he was the first few weeks. So all these things, I think, are starting to go Chicago's way that make sense, right? That this is going to be, I think, a much better offense in the second half of the season as it was in the first half.
TJ Watt and Darnell Wright is a fun little matchup on that side of the ball. Again, Caleb has done a great job of avoiding sacks this year, and you usually avoid sacks by just getting rid of the ball. His athleticism in actually avoiding tackles in the backfield, actually avoiding the sack, has been unreal. So I think Caleb Williams' scrambling ability, his ability to pick up hidden yards. I mean, he's got 300-something hidden yards over the last couple of weeks per Dan Orlovsky. I don't know what those are, but it sounds valuable.
That was going to be my question. Do you know what those are yet? I don't know what hidden yards are.
I don't. My assumption is, 10-yard sack, and then he avoids it and throws it away, or he picks up 6. So it's like, there's 16 hidden yards. You went from a -10 to a +6, so that's hidden, even though 6 are real.
It's not that hidden. I mean, they're there. It's on the stat sheet.
I don't know what's hidden.
Like,
it sounds like a lot, though.
But at least half of that is not hidden at all. It's just the yards
Maybe
you got.
It's just the 10, just the -10.
Just the 10 you hid by not taking it. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The PFF Twitter account just put something up about, we talked about the Chiefs and their playoff stakes.
Yeah.
What's at stake? Bears with a win, 69% playoff. Chances of making the playoffs, it's 40 with a loss. So there's a lot at stake for the Bears and a few other teams this week. And it's just a game with the Steelers. It's just where they are as a 7-3 team. If they can get to 8-3 and they're that one step closer, and it gives you a big margin for error as you head into December and January.
Yeah, they're in a sort of funny spot where they're like, we've been joking this Tiger Woods versus John Daly meme, with the same record, these two completely different looking entities, and you've got Chicago sitting atop that division with a -6 net point differential. But they are top of the division. Like, they are half a game ahead of anybody else. They're the third favorite just to make the playoffs from that division. So they're in this weird spot where
that's the remaining schedule.
Yeah, where they keep winning, and the fact that it's a combination of the remaining schedule and just the general lack of belief in this team at the moment. But they're in this weird spot where they have put themselves in this amazing position. Nobody quite believes it's real yet, and maybe it isn't real yet, but given that they're improving, given that connection between Ben Johnson and his quarterback, given the integration of talented playmakers like Luther Burden Moore, this could be a better team down the stretch, even if the schedule gets harder. So it will be kind of fascinating to see how that shakes out.
I think it's going to be a close, hard-fought game. You've got the Steelers 28th in EPA per rush allowed, their run defense.
Their defense, I was not wrong about anything more than I was wrong about what that Steelers defense was going to look like this year.
I mean, outside of a few weeks, though. A few weeks where it's forced turnovers, the pass rush, and it's worked. It just hasn't been like they should be playing like Seattle.
Yeah, every week.
Or Houston, right? With a fierce pass rush.
Even if you give them the benefit of the doubt for the injuries they've had on the back end, like the relative lack of impact that front four has had this season has been crazy. Like, they should be the most dominant pass rush. They should be doing what the Rams are doing every week, and they're not.
So I think I'm completely with you. So I think the Bears have a chance to run the ball with their 1-2 punch a little bit. And I just think we're going to see a close, hard-fought game. If Rodgers plays, the thing again to keep an eye on, left wrist injury, can he hand it off? Can he take snaps under center? Do they have to put him in the shotgun the whole time? If it's Mason Rudolph, can he hit a couple downfield to DK Metcalf? I think there are opportunities against this Bears secondary to hit some of those big plays. You're going to have to hit some of those. I don't think you could just go all dink and dunk and underneath stuff if you're Mason Rudolph.
No.
Looking for a close one. 44.5 is the over-under. 2.5 is Chicago is what they're favored by. Where are you going to go with this one?
I will go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Give me the Bears. Give me the Bears as home dogs to cover. I mean, home favorites, sorry. To still cover.
I also like
they're going to win by 3.
I like the Steelers thing because I don't know that it matters if they have to go to Mason Rudolph. It's one of those ones where if they change the quarterback, I'm not concerned about the pick.
I mean, Rodgers, where's the Sam Hoppins QB metrics here?
Uh-oh.
Rodgers is currently 27th in PFF grade.
The fun one was the Colts and the Chiefs, where that's like a battle between like 16th and 18th grade quarterbacks in the NFL.
Oh, Daniel Jones and Patrick Mahomes.
It's like a couple MVP candidates earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Now it's like actually those are just two mid quarterbacks apparently according to PFF grades.
Rodgers 27th in PFF grade, 22nd in EPA per play. So everything below average there as far as Rodgers quarterback wise. So if you bring in Mason Rudolph, is it that big of a difference right now based off how Rodgers is playing?
Yeah, I don't think it really is. I think it's like there's a couple of teams this season where it's like if you've had to swap out the starter, I don't know that it's making a huge difference right now.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
So I'm taking Chicago. I don't love it. I think it's gonna be a close game. Could go either way. Harry's gonna take Pittsburgh here. Let's go Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers. Packers by 6.5 here. Over under just 41.5 in Green Bay. Is there weather there? 6-3-1 Packers and the 4-6 Vikings. Vikings season hanging by a thread here. Everything matters. And everything matters for Green Bay as well, as they're sitting here battling for the top of the NFC North. Packers also have the really high playoff probability on the line here per PFF, 83 with a win, 54 with a loss. So it's not season ending with a loss here, but you get that much closer to at least the playoff picture if you're the Packers. They've got bigger aspirations here, but they're coming off their 27-20 win against the Giants. Jordan Love's best game. It's Toyotathon. We broke that down with Mina Kimes yesterday. Yep. This is Jordan Love's time to shine.
Watch out, Minnesota. Toyotathon. Jordan Love's coming. No weather to speak of in this game either.
Weak. It's pretty weak. What are you looking for in this one?
It's kind of a trap game, I think, now for Green Bay. I mean, they should be the better team on really either side of the ball. You've got Toyotathon, Jordan Love, if that's a thing. I mean, it's even cranking it up even higher. J.J. McCarthy trying to rewire his brain, so that's a work in progress.
What did he – you have to explain what he said.
He said he was rewiring his neural pathways in order to get better mechanics, and that takes some time. I said this the other day. I think he should stop talking out loud in front of microphones. I don't think he's helping himself at all. I think he should just shut up and not say anything to anybody for any period of time. Like, I appreciate your interest in my career. However, I'm going to decline to comment right now, or I'm going to defer all comment to just Adam Thielen. Adam will talk on my behalf.
Just give him the AI.
I'm focusing on football.
All you have to say is one game at a time. Just focused on this week.
I mean, someone...
Just trying to get better every day. All he has to say is, I'm trying to get better every day. You don't have to talk about rewiring the neurons or anything. You just say, I'm getting better every day.
The Vikings have PR people. Somebody should be handing him a cue card with 5 all-purpose phrases that you can answer any question with, right?
Which, by the way, are the same all-purpose phrases that have been cited for years, but for half a century.
And just give him the instructions. JJ, for the next 6 weeks, whatever you're asked, pick 1 to 5. Doesn't matter. Just pick a number and read from it.
We're just trying to be 1-0 this week.
Right.
Got to be where your feet are. Don't just use the coach speak.
Correct. Just pick from any one of these 5 all-purpose phrases and answer any question asked of you with one of those. Don't say anything else, and then leave.
Otto in the chat says JJ didn't say that. It was 9.
Well,
maybe 9 needs to be canceled for a little bit.
Whatever. They just need both. Whichever one of them is answering the questions needs to stop answering honestly and start answering from a list of pre-prepared nothing answers. Because every time he actually says things that he's thinking, it doesn't sound good.
I spent as a former professional athlete, Sam, a couple sessions with Major League Baseball, psychologist.
Yeah.
And so we kind of played this game a little bit. It's like, who do you want to be when you're on the mound? Like, what demeanor do you want? So you kind of paint a picture. Like, I want to be stoic. I want to be whatever, whatever who you want. And then you kind of get into character and take some time to practice. And I was never good at it. But if I had mastered that, that's between me and me. You know what I mean? It's like between me and the psychologist guy. It's just me and him. Hey, I'm Mr. Stoic guy. You make up a name, whatever you want to call it. It's just between you and one other person. You don't need to tell people how you're doing it. You don't need to tell people the headspace that you get into when you play or whatever. Just go do it.
I don't know that there's ever a lot of upside in articulating an alter ego that you happen to have in your own head to people. I mean,
you tell your wife, you tell your psychologist. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
I just don't know if there's ever a huge amount to be gained by telling people that, you think you assume a different character in certain situations. They're like, oh, okay. I mean, with
but
Justin Jefferson,
it is a thing in sports, right? Because it is such
but it's like you need a certain, Justin Jefferson can get away with saying that because he's Justin Jefferson. He's put together the greatest 5-year stretch of any wide receiver in NFL history. That guy can come out and say, when I take the field, I become Jets or whatever, and that's a different human. And you're like, all right, fair enough. Whatever it is, it's working for him. J.J. McCarthy gets there's one locker room candid snap of mean mug, right? And he's like, that's 9. Excuse me? That's my alter ego that I bring out during games.
It's not me. I would never.
Right. That's 9. And then when I talk to you, I'm just J.J. I just don't know that's helping anyway.
You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to. Because he's right. It is. If he's saying, because there's been a lot about his mechanics, and I see screenshots of him like, upside down after like mechanics are all over the place and everything. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it is
rewiring takes time.
But it like that's true. Like this goes back to this. There's a kernel of truth in that. If you're trying to rework your mechanics in season.
Well, there's a lot of things that are true, but again, there's a list of things that you don't say out loud in front of a microphone. Yeah. Like, just stop talking.
And then as an NFL quarterback, like you don't have that time. Remember a couple years ago.
We don't have that time, and you don't look good saying I'm trying to do this, right? Like when you come out and correctly articulate that, look, the NFL is too hard for me to leave plays on the table, right? Everyone knows that. It's like taken as read. Yeah, the league's hard. That's why most of the people crap out, right? Yeah. You can't use that as like a thing. It just, I don't know. All of these guys are supposed to go through like professional media training, right? It's like he skipped that class or something. Right? I don't know if he was rehabbing while that was.
Is he in the movie where you can't lie?
Right. I don't know if that was
Liar, and then there was another movie where nobody could lie and everybody just tells the truth. Is that where he
Ricky Gervais thing?
Yeah, Ricky Gervais.
I remember what that's called.
So they're like, hey, how you handling this? He's like, well, listen, I mean, I'm a first-round quarterback. Honestly, only 10% of first-round quarterbacks become elite players anyway. Only 25 become franchise quarterbacks. To be honest, the odds are against me anyway. Chances are I'm going to flame out. He's just out there telling the truth. Maybe 9 just tells the truth explicitly.
It's just like he missed the class where they teach, how to handle the media. It's like he skipped that class. He was busy doing something else, or he was just not even paying attention, distracted by a bumblebee or something. And now he just says the correct answer to whatever the question is being asked. But the problem is the correct answer when you're struggling as a quarterback is invariably going to make it look worse.
Now, all that said, what we've seen from an on-field performance from JJ, no matter what headspace he gets into, I do think there's something to, maybe not sustainable. There's something to, hey, in crunch time, like the narrative would switch a little bit if the Vikings didn't give up a long kickoff return.
They almost won the game.
Right.
Like he did put the ball in the guy's hands for the go-ahead touchdown, tying, and then they screwed it up by coughing up the kick return immediately and lost the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is this element of it is good that J.J. McCarthy, in crunch time, has found a way to make big plays against the Bears twice, in other games this year where he just makes this, comeback attempt and does well there, right? There is something there. And then I think the challenge for Kevin O'Connell in the Vikings, it's like, how do you bottle that up? Like, what's happening in late game sequences? Is it being in 2 minute? Is it different levels of aggressiveness, like what, and you're trying to extract that out now for 4 quarters for J.J. McCarthy. So that's going to be the challenge here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's that clean in terms of there's anything happening situationally that helps him, or if it's just he's so wildly inconsistent that all it takes is a couple of big plays. The defense is really good. It's kept him in a lot of games. And if he can just make a couple of big plays, they're there, right? So, I mean, this is someone that's barely completing more than 50% of their passes. Like, they just need to improve his overall baseline consistency. Like,
he's still number 1 in ADOT at 10.
Yeah, like we're dealing with a non-athletic Anthony Richardson right now. We're dealing with someone where your baseline is so low from a basic efficiency standpoint. But what you're aiming at is so explosive that all you need is one of them, and we offset like a quarter of crappy play. So, I mean, that's the thing they need to just figure out is whether this is a mechanics thing and rewiring it just takes time, or you just, 50 needs to become 60, needs to become getting on for 70 in today's NFL. Like, that's a long way that you've got to travel. You've got to get from a 50% passer to like a 70% passer. And you kind of need to do it in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's still early in his career. And I think that's the challenge for the Vikings, right? You have a Vikings roster that was built. Like if you dropped this year's Sam Darnold in there, they're making not just a playoff push. So you're like, they're a Super Bowl contender, right? Sam Darnold playing the way he is this year in a vacuum, dropped onto this roster, Super Bowl contending Minnesota Vikings.
Now, maybe not earlier in the season when the offensive line was a disaster.
Maybe not, but now. You know what I'm saying, right? You've got this mismatch of J.J. McCarthy coming off an injury, first year as starter, now dropped onto a roster who theoretically could just elevate him and make him look really good. But really, you have a roster ready to compete, and you have a quarterback where, if we're going to be fair to him, 5 or 6 starts into his career, you just say it's early in his career. Like, we're not going to make full determinations on what he is. So you have two ways of looking at it, right? You've dropped him into a good situation overall, and that's concerning that it's not going well. Or you dropped him into a playoff caliber team, and he's just not ready yet.
Well, the problem is you got two things. You have the fairly unavoidable conclusion that right now J.J. McCarthy is a drag on this offense and this team overall. Like he is not. They're not only are they not winning because of him, but they're losing because of him. They're not winning because J.J. McCarthy is not a good quarterback right now. With the kind of other side of that, which is he's the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL, and sometimes that takes time. You don't have that time, though. This is the problem with a team like Minnesota, which is like this isn't a team that won one game a year ago and is terrible, and they can. The starting quarterback can play for quite a period of time whilst the rest of the team is terrible, and it sort of syncs up, Like it's not helping him, but at least we can let him play like crap for a while because the rest of the team's bad as well. The Vikings are in a tough spot because the rest of this team looks pretty good, so they don't really have the time to just let Darnold play or McCarthy play for like 3 years, not improving. He needs to be good now, and if he's not good now, he absolutely needs to be good next year. Otherwise, he needs replacing. That's a tough spot to be in where you don't have the time to just, develop this guy even if you knew that was possible, even if you were confident that Kevin O'Connell is a wizard and in 2 years, Kevin O'Connell will turn anybody who's got the physical tools into a high-end starting quarterback. Even if you were confident in that, I don't know that you could do that as an NFL franchise. Like, can you burn 2 years of everybody else's career waiting for this guy to get it together? Or have you got to do something else in the meantime? And then if you do that, can you even develop him from the sideline? Like, is that even a thing in this situation? So I think the Vikings are in a really tough spot because and this is the other comedy part of it, through 5 games. That's nothing.
5 games.
Through 5 games, J.J. McCarthy does not look capable of playing NFL quarterback right now for a good team.
On the other side, Packers, I know a lot of teams have the extensive injury report that we've talked about, but all of their receivers, literally, questionable after Wednesday's practice. Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson, all questionable with various injuries.
Malik Heath time.
Edgerrin Cooper, questionable. Quay Walker, Micah Parsons. Javon, that's 7 starters on defense, questionable. I don't know what to do with any of that as far as Green Bay. I'll assume at least half of those guys are going to play. I mean, that's where we are, right? They're all 50-50. I'll assume most of them. I don't know. It's very difficult to keep up with every injury in the NFL and knowing the severity unless you're just a hardcore fan just focused on your one team. But I'll assume most of those guys are playing. And at Jordan Love on the other side, that one thing I just wanted to highlight really quick. I know there's 900 different variations of EPA per play and EPA these days from our friend Sam Hoppin, who's just guy that we steal his stats from all the time on Twitter. Second in EPA per play, wherever he's getting that number from. 10th in success rate. And I think that's what typifies this Packers offense this year. It's like down for down, it's not as good in the pass game, but they're hitting those big plays. Last week, huge, right? Savion Williams on 3rd and long. Christian Watson, the 17-yard touchdown in crunch time. Love is making some huge throws down the field. I think he's having a good season. I would love to see more of the easy stuff underneath and then balancing out the big plays. But I think Love is throwing the ball well. It is Toyota-thon. And I think Christian Watson, when he's healthy, though, is really making a difference in this offense.
Yes.
But him and Savion Williams as the big-bodied receivers, I think, have a chance to make some big plays for them.
Definitely. Christian Watson, he's been the big play threat that he was supposed to be for his entire career, and he's done it without the massive mistakes which have tended to come with his play for a long stretch of time. The only really glaring one was that one we talked about where he kind of went to break up the pass and then realized, actually, if I'd tracked that better, I probably could have just caught it myself.
Yeah.
Jordan Love versus Flores has kind of been all over the place. He's ranged from high variance, wild game where he's put up a bunch of big plays and turned it over a bunch to actually paralyzed and almost got no production whatsoever to perfect, clean game, one of his best games in his NFL careers against a Flores defense. So there's a massive variable in this game. You could get any form of Jordan Love game versus Flores. It could be he dominates the Flores defense, or the Flores defense suffocates them and he's barely able to move the ball, or anything in between.
All right, man, we got Green Bay by 6.5 here at home. Over under just 41.5. Where are you going to go with this one?
I'm going to go with the Packers to both win and cover that line. I think this will be comfortable.
Wow. I'll take the Packers as well. Harry's taking the Vikings. Believes in 9. Might be his number. 9. Maybe that's it.
What?
I'm trying to think of Harry's baseball number.
No.
If he was 9 or not. But he doesn't play 9. Like, he doesn't get into character as 9. He might be the number 9 when he plays. But I don't even remember. I don't remember all my kids' numbers. You and I taking Green Bay. Harry's taking Minnesota. Let's go Seattle Seahawks at the Tennessee Titans. Seahawks coming off their loss. They're 7-3. Titans 1-9. But the Seahawks favored by 13.5 here in Tennessee. I just want to say, poor Cam Ward going through this run of defenses. Texans last week. He's already faced the Rams. Just tough defenses for the number 1 overall pick. Now Calvin Ridley's out for the season, and his 2 rookies both battling injuries, Chimere DK and Alec Maynard. So not great.
Are they going to activate Restrepo?
People are asking.
I honestly...
They're asking for Restrepo. It's the Titans fans, like, they saw what we saw. Like, the guy runs 4.7 as a slot receiver, and that's really slow, maybe 4.8. Like, nothing makes sense other than him getting open and catching the ball.
And the fact that he was, his favorite target in college.
I know.
There's something to the idea of it, given everything else around Cam Ward is terrible. Would you not at least give him one crumb of comfort? Hey, you're everything you're dealing with this year is going to suck, but we'll give you Xavier.
I mean, I don't know what happened. I saw the 2 training camp practices. Restrepo didn't get targeted highly there. I don't know. So maybe they just haven't seen it in practice with him. But Mason Kinsey, who's been up and down for the last 5 years for them, kind of messed up a couple plays. On Sunday.
I'm starting to think that whole concept of wide receiver quarterback chemistry is wildly overrated in every capacity. But in particular, this idea of pairing a guy with somebody he played with in college.
I mean, it works when it's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, but
But it's because they're Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
I just don't know if there's anything to that.
I don't really care that it was
thing.
Cam Ward. I just think Restrepo, every time I watched him, whether it was Cam Ward throwing him the ball or not, whoever they had the year before, it's like the dude gets open, makes big plays faster. Like, I don't care about his straight line speed. He's just a good football player.
But like Bo Nix to Troy Franklin has some of the worst chemistry of any wide receiver quarterback connection you can think of, and those 2 guys played together in college. I just don't know if there's anything to this idea of wide receivers and quarterbacks building chemistry. I think it's just good players work with good players.
A couple things to keep an eye on here, or at least one significant one. Seattle rookie left guard Gray Zabel avoided serious injury. He's considered more day-to-day. Christian Haynes would start if Gray Zabel can't go. Haynes, 3rd rounder a couple years ago, kind of liked him coming out, but he's struggled with power early in his career. And so you have Jeffrey Simmons on the other side. You have Tavondre Sweat. Like, there could be some, a mismatch there potentially with Haynes, the way he's played previously.
Yeah, they would want Zabel out there if they can.
Tennessee's defense has been feisty in the last couple weeks. I think
very good last week.
Right. That's what gives them a chance, I think, to at least keep it close. But the Seattle defense put into difficult spots last week, did great against that Rams offense. They should have a lot of success against this Tennessee offense, which last time I checked was losing a quarter of a point every time they snapped the ball.
Yeah, that's not great.
That's EPA being negative 0.25.
Yeah, this should be a huge bounce back spot for this Seattle offense. And the Seattle offense in the 2 previous games, remember, had wrecked teams for 60 points in the first half. It should roll. Darnold should be able to go back to being the player that he was before the implosion. I don't Tennessee's defense has been feisty, and if Gray Zabel is out, maybe they can get some joy up the middle and create a couple of those havoc plays. But overall, you would expect this Seahawks offense to pretty much roll, and then their defense, I would expect to completely throttle the Titans offense. So I feel like this is a fairly comfortable win.
Yeah, I think it's comfortable. That's just such a big number on the road. It's a massive number on the road. I like Darren Orlovsky keeps reiterating that Cam Ward is throwing the ball well, and I think last week especially, I don't know if that was overall his best game. Felt like his best game for me as a pro from Cam Ward. He led the fourth quarter comeback to tie the game, hit a beautiful deep ball to Chigakonkwo on the corner route. Feels like they're dialing up a few more plays that I think he looks slightly more comfortable, right? We're looking at baby steps here for Cam Ward. And I think we're getting some of those these last couple weeks. A few more plays where he's more comfortable, a key scramble. We were asking him to use his legs. I think that's all trending in the right direction. Just an awful situation now going up against Seattle's front.
Yeah.
Houston last week. All your receivers hurt. And it's tough to glean anything from it except baby steps. I mean, it's kind of like what we said with Drake May last year in New England. It's like the line's bad, the receivers are bad, you're overmatched every week. But if you put 2 or 3 positive plays together that, show your talent, it feels like a win. And I'm not saying that, well, next year you just get a new coach and all of a sudden you'll be an MVP candidate, just like Drake May was. It doesn't work that way. But just see a couple positive plays per week, show the talent if you're Cam Ward, and I feel like you'll have something to build off of if you're the Titans.
Yeah, I'm kind of comfortable with just seeing the flashes every week. Like, just the evidence that it isn't breaking him, I think, is all I'm looking for at this point for Cam Ward. Like, I don't even care if he improves. I don't even care if we're seeing consistency. I just want to see some evidence that he hasn't completely gone in the tank every week of this, because it's a horrible situation. He has to be getting beat down by this. Like, just show me that you're still willing to go out there, drop a bomb to Chigakonkwo, take off scrambling late in the game. Like, if you come out of the game and there's 2 of those, I'm good enough.
It's going to be a fierce Seattle pass rush and coverage unit. So, all right, man, 13.5. Seattle favorite, over under just 40.5 in this one.
Yeah, despite the monster number, I am going with Seattle to cover it.
All right, I'll take Tennessee because of the number. Home dogs, 13.5. Harry's going to take Seattle here. We got the New York Jets at the Baltimore Ravens. We got 3 games in a row here that are above 10. This is also 13.5. Baltimore favored, trying to get over 500. Just a 5-5 Ravens team favored by almost 2 touchdowns. Jets are 2-8. They have made the move to Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod.
As the starting quarterback here. So we have a Tyrod revenge game against the Ravens.
Do we?
Yeah. That's where he started.
Did he? Why do I not? Oh, that's right. He went there. Yeah. Before,
You just had me doubting myself for a minute. I'm like,
well, like the first thing in his career in my brain was the Buffalo stint. I forgot that he was somewhere before that.
It's like we need more, what's his name? Josh Johnson revenge games.
Oh, everything's a Josh Johnson
It's
revenge
all
game.
revenge games.
I love that he got to play football again.
Yeah. Tyrod played with the Baltimore Ravens between 2011 and 2014.
Yeah.
He was drafted in 2011 or 10? 2011, I think. Let's see. Yeah, 2011, 6th round, 180th overall. Still going here. He only threw 35 passes as a member of the Ravens. Right. And then, to Buffalo. Then Cleveland, the Chargers, Houston. Remember Tyrod on Houston?
No.
Me neither. 2021. And then the Giants for 2 years, and then the Jets for 2 years. Here we are, 36 years old. Tyrod getting the start.
Yeah. I mean, you would assume that upgrades Justin Fields because Fields has been so bad this season. I would say that the game plan remains relatively similar. I would think they still want to run the ball as much as possible, but you will like what Tyrod can do passing the ball more than Fields has been able to do this year.
Yeah, they still don't have great weapons. You still want to have a service academy drive. And, I mean, I always ask, how could the Titans, say, pull the upset against Seattle? Make some defensive plays, maybe take advantage of a backup guard, maybe Darnold throws a couple picks. In this one, I'd say the Jets, you got to play the service academy game. You got to play the heavy, run the ball, control the clock type of game, which they're capable of. Like, they're pretty good at that. It's so tough to sustain, right? I used to joke about Pete Carroll. Like, if you drew up the perfect Pete Carroll game, and he had it a couple times, Russell Wilson goes 14 of 17. Remember, like 4 or 5 years ago? Russ goes 14 of 17. They run the ball 42 times for 212. If the Jets could draw that up, if you knew that you could do that, and Taylor's only throwing the ball 20 times, and it's just highly efficient, it's all play action, it's all boot, it's all easier type of throws because of the run, then maybe you got a chance here. But you have Baltimore's defense that's starting to round into shape. You have Kyle Hamilton playing in and around the line of scrimmage. He's got those highlight reel plays. He's blowing up. Some of the best guards in the league was Batonio last week, just blowing up guards and making plays in the backfield. It's going to be tough as Baltimore's defense starts to find their footing over these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it is. And the problem with those Service Academy type games is it's just really hard to do that consistently. Like if you have one bad run, now you're behind the chains and you can't, it's difficult to then run on 2nd and 10 when you're in a hole. And then if you don't get anything good on 2nd and 10, now can you run on 3rd and 7? Like your one run throws you completely out of kilter in these types of runs if it doesn't go well. But that is, it's the way they have to win the game. You don't have a Garrett Wilson. You don't have your receiving talent. Tyrod Taylor's probably going to see it better than Justin Fields did, but it's hard to construct a passing attack built off what they have.
For Jets fans for the rest of the year, I'll probably, because we used to do this as like, what are we watching for this weekend? And we usually get to this point of the season where a team's going to be picking in the top 5, and I like to say what you're going to watch for is probably on Saturday, and here's a couple of the quarterbacks that you might draft. But you got nothing to watch this weekend because Alabama's facing Eastern Illinois, the Fighting Romos, the Fighting Jimmy Garoppolos, the Fighting Sean Paytons. So you don't get to see much from Ty Simpson. But watch the Iron Bowl next week against Auburn. And then Indiana and Fernando Mendoza, they're off. So Jets fans, you don't have Saturday QB scouting to do really this week, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. So you've actually got to watch your own players.
So you got to watch the 13.5 point underdogs in Baltimore. Anything else on this game? Not really.
No, other than last week. Yeah.
Steak.
The Baltimore, this sort of resurgence, right? Like they're, expected to make the playoffs now. They're on their way to being the team that people thought they might be, except, last week wasn't great. They're not a juggernaut still. Like,
it's a good point, right? Like I know Cleveland's defense is great.
Yeah.
But, the old Ravens teams win that game,
like they're not in good shape.
38 to 10
They're not in good shape in either trench. Like both sides of the line of scrimmage in the up front, they're not in great shape.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not pass blocking all that well. Lamar was holding on to the ball a little bit. And so, yeah, that would be like the one concern. Like the Ravens have gotten to where we thought they would, which is back in the mix here. And at the end of Sunday, if the Steelers lose to the Bears and the Ravens win, they're both 6-5. They're tied atop the AFC North. Again, still 2 games to play. December 7th is the first time they're going to play. We'll keep citing that. So the Ravens, I'm expecting them to win, but if you're going to have confidence in them going forward, you probably want to see them dominate a game like this.
Yeah, and part of that, I think, is that consistency with the trenches. They need like one of those groups to just pull itself together and be consistently better than it. Like it's inconsistency rather than outright terribleness that I think is affecting those trenches. Like either side, like a guy like Andrew Voorhees, the guard, has been, it's not like he's bad. He's just either solid or terrible. Yeah. Nothing in the middle. Like it's week to week, he seems to vary wildly. And I love that guy purely because of his story at the Combine where he tore his ACL and then still went out there and bench press like with crutches. I'll never not love Andrew Voorhees for that. Like that's one of the most awesome clips of all time was him bench press, and he bench pressed like 40 times or something with crutches. Had to hobble his way out to the bench, toss the crutches aside, and then with one leg hanging off the side of the bench, hammered out like 40 reps or something insane.
I love that. All right, man. 13.5. Ravens are favored at home Sunday at 1:00. Where are you going?
This one, I'm going with the Jets to cover the Giant Lion. I think they'll keep it within 2 touchdowns.
I'll take the Ravens here, as will Harry, taking the 13.5. New York Giants at the Detroit Lions. Back to the Dome for the Lions. They're favored by 10.5, over under 49.5 per Fanduel. Lions coming off of their tough loss against the Eagles last week. We don't know for sure if Jackson Dart is back, but he's trending in the right direction, I believe. So might have Jackson Dart coming back off of his concussion.
He at least wasn't at the WWE, I don't think. I didn't see him.
Just Scadaboo.
Yeah, and Abdul Carter and apparently a bunch of other players.
This is the fall of Scadaboo right now. The fall, not the fall from grace, the fall as in the season, like the summer of George Costanza. That's, Scadaboo, his ankle falls off. Since his ankle has fallen off, he's done a WWE spot. He was shotgunning the energy drink out of the shoe
in celebration.
And he's earned 1,000.
I didn't see you doing that when you hit 50,000. When we hit 50,000 subscribers.
Well, maybe we will.
Monster in the shoe.
That's like, at my age, that could be, heart attack inducing.
Well, that feels even worse. Like, because that's the thing. Australians do this, called a shoey, right? Like a beer in a shoe and drink out of it. At least the beer, at least there's alcohol killing, there's bacteria killing properties in alcohol. Like, is Monster actually, that Monster feels worse than booze coming out of a shoe.
There's no need for it at all. Anyway, Scat's getting after it the last few weeks.
Yeah, and he's come out and said, leave me alone, stop being mean. My joy has been taken away. I can't play football anymore for the first time in my life, so I'm trying to find joy in other things like the WWE.
I don't care. Let him go.
Well,
I still want that guy on my team no matter what.
Same. And I think it's great that he's enjoying life outside of the game, and these are all good things. However, it's a little strange that a guy whose ankle got stapled back together a couple of weeks ago and is getting everywhere on a mobility scooter is involved in a physical altercation in the WWE.
I might avoid the physical altercation.
If I'm an NFL team, and they get upset when their players are just playing basketball, right? They're just engaging in any physical activity that isn't football. If I saw a dude that we just sent to surgery a fortnight ago, and he's slapping a pro wrestler on TV, I wouldn't be cool with that. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway, talking about the game. Jackson Dart wasn't at wrestling.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's looking after himself.
Will the Lions be able to bounce back here? Jared Goff was 16 for 37, 2 for his last 18 last week. If there's one thing I'll say about, the Lions have had some of these disappointing games, like week 1 against Green Bay, and we sat here and said, oh no, is this Ben Johnson's gone, and Goff looked awful, and the Packers defense looked great. Will they be okay? And within 2 weeks, they're putting up 50 on the Bears. They're not.
Yeah.
The Lions aren't a team. I think they've had just too much success to look at one game and say, well, are they losing it offensively? Because 2 weeks ago, they dominated Washington. They just ran into this incredible Eagles team playing outdoors in the wind and everything. It's just tougher to play there. I think they're going to dominate again in the Dome. Now, they've had offensive line injuries. You got 4 offensive starters here on the offensive line, all on the injury report as of yesterday. So that's a bit of a concern, especially against this Giants defensive line, which hasn't maybe lived up to the hype, but they still have the ability in stretches to take over games. But I think Detroit bounces back pretty well here.
Yeah, I think they should. The big part of that disappointing offensive performance was they went up against the Eagles defense, which is playing absolutely crazy right now. The Giants, they've got some talent up front. They've definitely got horses that can cause problems, but the defense as a whole is not the Vic Fangio Philadelphia defense. So you would expect a bounce back from Detroit just for that, the fact that they're going up against a much easier assignment.
Okay, so then as of yesterday, Jackson Dart was the first quarterback up during Wednesday's practice, coming off his concussion. That's probably a good sign that he's going to play. So the big question here is,
how do they use him?
What do they do, right? So first time with Mike Kafka as the head coach, Brian Daboll's been fired. Do they stop running QB power counter and designed run game 6 to 8 times a game? I would suggest that they do and just say, look, Jackson, we know you can run. He could be a 7 to 800 yard runner as a quarterback if they want to. And so much like we always talk about break glass in case of emergency with Josh Allen and some of the other top quarterbacks, just sunset, parking lot that for a little bit, parking lot it, right? The run game for the rest of the season. Let's work on timing in the pass game. Let's work on consistency. Let's work on attacking every level of the field through the pass game. We know you can run. When we're a playoff caliber team, hopefully next year, we'll lean into it when we need to. Rest of the year, develop as a passer. That's what they should be doing with the Giants.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart.
I think if nothing else, the guy coming off a concussion who's been evaluated for concussion 4 straight times or 4 separate times already, whether or not you're going to tap into it for the rest of the season, it feels like a week where you might want to give it off, Let's just not do those this week, But the other thing is, this is we brought this up with John Gruden, called him out for this, back at draft time. Can you even stop him doing that to himself? Can you even say to Jackson Dart, forget. I mean, okay, we're not going to call any run plays, but also don't scramble. Like, just don't take the hit.
Yeah.
Get rid of the ball. Stop doing it to yourself. We are not going to call those plays, but you also need to protect yourself.
So, all right, man. Dart coming back. Want to see what he looks like. Again, I think overall, so much positive about Jackson Dart as a rookie. I think he's elevated an offense, not only that was struggling, but on paper just doesn't have a ton of talent. And I want to just see him continue to do that through the air and not as a runner. And we'll see if the Lions can bounce back. Vegas expects them to. They're favored by 10.5 here. Where are you going to
go? Going with the Lions to bounce back, to win and cover.
Lions with a big stretch here, too. I mentioned the Cowboys, but the Lions, of course, they're going to come back on Thanksgiving. They have the Packers again on Thanksgiving to kick things off, and then they've got the following Thursday against Dallas. So stretch here for the Lions. I think they have to take care of business against the Giants, and then they get the big one against the Packers Thanksgiving Day. New England Patriots coming to Cincinnati, face the Bengals, favored by 6.5. Patriots sitting right at the top of the AFC at 9-2. Bengals now 3-7. Over/unders 50.5 per Fanduel. Thank you, Bengals defense. And we've got Joe Burrow as a full participant at Bengals practice yesterday. Are we going to see Joe Burrow play football? Jamar Chase is also out, missing the one game suspension after spitting at Jalen Ramsey last week.
Yeah, which again, absolutely justified. The suspension, not the spitting. Yeah, Burrow being back would be interesting.
Got a Zach Taylor quote here. Quote, Burrow hasn't done 11 on 11 yet. Until we get through some practices, there is no reason for me to even speculate on that, end quote. Presumably speculate on whether or not he was going to play. So you only have one more day to do 11 on 11. That's today.
Right.
And then, Friday walkthrough, and then you go. So I think I'm still expecting Joe Flacco, but who knows?
It's not like, it's not like you don't need Joe Burrow to sort of, get to know everybody. Like, it's not,
No, I know. I get it.
I don't know that you necessarily need him to have practiced in order to have him play a football game.
He had a surgery, right? So it's not like Brock Purdy, who didn't have surgery on the turf toe, and it's like, is it going to aggravate? It doesn't mean he can't aggravate it, but they might push him back. And again, they're 3-7.
Yeah.
And we're technically in this spot where it feels like the season's almost over, but they're not mathematically eliminated, and they're 12th in the AFC right now. Can you paint us a picture? Can they go 7-0 and finish 10-7? Absolutely.
Well,
that is possible.
It's also that they're in the easiest division to snatch a playoff spot in, right? Because Vegas doesn't have confidence in Pittsburgh. Baltimore's there. We just said they don't look like the juggernaut either. Cincinnati plays them both.
They play they don't play the Steelers anymore, but they play Baltimore twice.
Right.
So yeah, they could.
They play Baltimore twice. Pittsburgh and Baltimore have to play. Like, there's a world where the Bengals can still not be good, and yet also just about cling into this. Like, maybe this becomes the division where somebody snatches it with a 9-8 record.
They're not in the graveyard yet. They're not in the graveyard that's up on the wall.
They are. I mean, even
they're close.
The FanDuel odds to make the playoffs, like they're on the wrong side of that sort of line of demarcation of teams likely to make it versus unlikely to make it. They are unlikely to make it, but they are the sort of, I guess, the second most likely of the unlikely teams to make it. The only team that isn't making the playoffs that FanDuel thinks is more likely is the Vikings. But it's, they're not dead, and they're not as dead and buried as their record looks.
So yeah, it's every game's going to be big for Cincinnati, and every game's going to be big for New England as well. Even though on paper the only two difficult matchups that they have remaining are the Ravens and the Bills, they're fighting for the number one seed. They're the most likely candidate to have the number one seed, and so you got to continue to win the games that you're supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati's problem is that whatever Joe Burrow is able to achieve, even if he comes back and the offense looks like it did last year, the defense is worse. Aaron Schatz tweeted out the other day that this year's Cincinnati Bengals is now literally the worst defense of all time, according to their DVOA numbers.
I just did like the cartoon eye popping, eyes popped out of my head because I just was reading some of their coverage stats as you were calling them the worst defense of all time.
Yes.
Is this a typo? they're allowing 7.3 yards after the catch per reception.
I believe it. I mean,
no, I know some receptions. That doesn't mean 7.3 yards per attempt plus air yards because you've got a lot of passes behind the line of scrimmage and the whole deal. But, I mean, that kind of makes sense. You got Colston Loveland running through the defense. You have Pat Fryermuth. I mean, this happens every single week. Darnell Washington just
and like
stiff-armed 3 of them to hell.
They have like 3 of the top 5 missed tackle players in football.
Yikes.
Like somebody put up a list of it was defensive line and linebacker PFF rookie grades, and like the 3 worst are the Bengals. And someone's like, serious question, like, did the Bengals actually find the 3 worst rookie defensive players in this draft, or is there something about the Cincinnati defense that's making them all look way worse than they are?
But there's something, because it's all bad, right? There's no.
But that's the thing.
So last week was the first week I think they had some semblance of a pass rush, and then every time they got close to Aaron Rodgers,
and even that made no sense.
So they don't have a good pass rush. They don't stop the run. They can't tackle. And then it's just funny because we talk so much about positional value and you don't want to take a safety high and all that. I mean, I don't think the subtraction of one safety has made as big of a difference for a defense than the Bengals, and that's Jesse Bates going back 3 years.
Yeah.
It is funny how one impact player, some teams can deal with that, and it's like next man up, and you stitch it together. And for whatever reason, the Cincinnati Bengals safety play has been atrocious for 3 years, and now it's trickling down to linebacker play and basically the entire back seven outside of DJ Turner, who's been outstanding at corner on the outside. So yeah, they're awful on that side of the ball, and unless New England turns it over or has their own, makes their own mistakes, the way Drake May's playing, finding the open man, look for Travion Henderson creating after the catch in the screen game. Like, they should have a lot of success, the Patriots, on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, here's the Aaron Schatz tweet. Congratulations to the Bengals who made it to the bottom. Wasn't sure this week's game against the Steelers was bad enough, but the Bengals now have the worst defensive DVOA ever measured through 10 games. So,
who are we competing with here?
The 2001 Arizona Cardinals, the 1979 San Francisco 49ers, the 2012 Indianapolis Colts, the 2000 San Francisco 49ers, the 1981 Baltimore Colts.
We all know how that ended up.
The 1980 New Orleans Saints, the 2016 Cleveland Browns. These were both 0-10 teams at that point. The 1985 Atlanta Falcons. Like, this is the worst defense anybody has ever seen. Like, this is last year's
10 games.
Right. Last year's Cincinnati Bengals defense was a joke, to the point where even with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and that offense cooking like the best offense in the NFL, they still weren't able to make the playoffs because the defense was every bit as bad. And somehow they managed to get worse. That's hard to do.
I love how he started out with congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congrats.
You're the worst defense we've ever seen through 10 weeks.
Congrats to the Bengals.
10 games.
Well, we'll see if Joe Burrow – I mean, the one thing – I think Joe Burrow's better than Joe Flacco.
Yes.
Just throwing that out there. Flacco did have some outstanding games. So there's, let's say, 2 truths here. There's some games that Joe Flacco had that maybe even Burrow – you can't bank on Burrow doing that every week. Like, Joe Flacco had a few games that are much better than what Burrow's put out there. But Flacco – talking about pumpkin games, he threw the pick 6 last week, tried to throw another one. He wasn't great.
Yeah, that wasn't a great game.
Last week, I think Burrow's at least going to bring some more week-to-week consistency and a heavy T. Higgins game for the Bengals with Jamar Chase out.
Yeah, I mean,
if Burrow's out there, I don't even know who he's going to play.
The defensive performance kind of shows the problem here is that, like, Flacco, I mean, up until last week, Flacco basically did way more than you could possibly have expected him to do. And it still wasn't enough because, like, okay, it was enough to beat Pittsburgh the first time, but then the other games, like, you were then supposed to roll against the Jets and beat the Bears, and, you could have had a season that was still very much intact when Joe Burrow was able to ride back. But that defense is straight garbage, so it doesn't matter.
Let's make a pick. Straight garbage, so it doesn't matter. Patriots by 6.5 here.
Why am I going with the Bengals?
I don't know. I thought that might have been a typo for you.
Doesn't seem to.
You were excited about Burrow? Full participant?
No, I don't have a good reason for why I've picked them, but apparently I have.
I'll take New England to cover the 6.5.
Just make sure I put it in the app that way.
Did you get it at a really good line?
Oh, yeah.
few weeks ago?
No,
Harry's also taking the Patriots.
I had only taken the Thursday one. I think that was just earmark that we were doing that game. I'm okay. Apparently, we're going with the Bengals, even though they have the worst defense in history.
My neighbors are coming out to this game. So I grew Dave Lapham, voice of the Bengals. I grew up with his nephews on my street back in Massachusetts. So there's a Palazzolo connection here.
Of course.
There's a Judith Drive. That's my old neighborhood. The Judith Drive connection here, where my friends growing up, Uncle Dave. You know how kids lie. You're like, oh, my uncle played for the Bengals. I'm like, we were all like, all right, dude. Sure he did, but he did. He was the guard. He was a guard for the Bengals. He's the voice. Lapham is the voice of the Bengals, and I grew up with his nephews right down the street, back in New England. Big connection here.
Good story.
Who are you taking? That is a good.
Told you, Cincinnati.
Let me know in the chat if you liked that story. You taking Cincinnati?
Yep.
For real.
For no reason, but other than the fact that apparently I put it in the app and the document that way.
Harry and I are taking the Patriots. Quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage, but when Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or you lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. We got 4 more games to discuss here, Sam, including Shedeur Sanders' first start. But a reminder, tonight, all members, if you have not become a member yet, at least click the join button, see what we offer to become a member here of Check the Mic, because we'll have a members exclusive watch along tonight for Bills Texans Thursday Night Football. And then Sunday, if you're a subscriber or if you just click in, it's free to everybody on Sunday. We're going to have a little, it's not even a watch along, it's just a live stream all day where you can come in and out as you please, comment, hang out with everybody, live stream all day Sunday, starting before the games right up until our live reaction after the 4 p.m. games.
Yeah, basically just a platform for the YouTube community chat windows to exist. You know, there's no system, which they really should have.
Don't be alarmed, right? Like when there's just a live stream going on.
Don't be alarmed when you don't see us sitting at a desk. There should be a system really where you can just have the chat room for a given channel up and running for a specific event, but there isn't. So we have to actually have a stream in order to have the chat room, the chat box up and running. But we won't be on that stream because we're busy.
But we'll be in the chat. We'll be in and out of the chat, interacting and hanging out. So join us Sunday all day right here on the channel, and then tonight for the watch-along.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland Browns at the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders favored by 3.5. It's Sunday at 4:05. I can't believe they're burying Shedeur's start in the 4:05 witching hour window.
Disgraceful.
But Shedeur Sanders getting his first start here for the Browns. Couple 2-win teams, 2-8 Browns, 2-8 Raiders. Over/under is just 36.5 for this one.
Can't believe the Raiders are favorite after watching what just happened to them the last time they played football.
Yeah, and you have a great Browns defense.
Yeah.
And then Shedeur making his first start here.
You do. And that, I think, kind of tells you just how much faith the man in Vegas has in Shedeur. Like, the Browns defense actually does have pretty good matchup against this Raiders offense. Like, they have the defensive line to cause problems, major problems for a terrible Raiders offensive line. Geno's probably going to be under pressure a lot again. That usually results in some bad decisions. Ashton Genty's probably not going to have anywhere to go with the ball. Again, that's going to lead to the run game not being there. You know, you can imagine a world where Cleveland's defense keeps this a very low-scoring game and a very doable feat for the offense. So then it just goes, okay, what can Shedeur do?
Walt predicts 10 sacks for Myles Garrett against Stone Forsythe. I'm just going to say 15 sacks. What's the record now?
22 and a half.
22 and a half. And you get the extra game, 17-game schedule. It's definitely doable. Like, Garrett could pick up a couple.
There are,
in this game.
Yeah. Myles Garrett has, how many games left to hit that 22 and a half number.
7 games.
And
Got to do it in 6. You got to do it in a 16-game
And
schedule.
more than one of those games is against a truly atrocious offensive line right now with a serious weakness in giving up sacks.
And it's the offensive line, but it's also it's the scheme, right? It's like when there's an unblocked defender, meeting Ashton Genty in the backfield consistently, it's not all missing blocks. It's missed assignments. It's scheme. It's getting outnumbered at the point of attack. It's just bad, right? Sometimes we just say it's the offensive line. I mean, it is, but it's everything. It's all bad, the run game for the Raiders. I think it's going to be difficult against this Browns defensive front, the way they're playing. We've talked plenty about Shedeur Sanders. Let's try to keep it snug today. Or we'll do 10 minutes and we'll just get extra videos out of it. Who knows? But it'll come down to what you expect from the rookie. And I think you said he's like the opposite of Dylan Gabriel. Put him together and you have both good and bad. But you put their good parts together, it's a good quarterback. I think we could see elements of, Shedeur Sanders getting sacked 6 or 7 times if he keeps moving in the pocket the way he does.
Yeah.
And Max Crosby, maybe he breaks the sack record in this one.
just in this game.
But to Shedeur's credit, I mean, just watching that one dig route that he threw or a couple of the downfield throws that he had, I think you might be able to get some more big plays than Dylan Gabriel was bringing to the table. So I think both could be true. More volatility maybe with Shedeur in his first start. And that's not even Shedeur's game, but relative to Dylan Gabriel, it might stand out.
Well, I mean, it's a different type of volatility. The funny thing is, the people that are like, why don't they just call it the good plays for Shedeur? The game plan actually, given his weakness, is the same. The game plan needs to be, they need to spend all week focusing on getting the ball out of his hand fast.
Yeah,
because
quick game, get it out.
You cannot behave in the pocket the way you behaved in that cameo against the Ravens. So you need to the thing about Shedeur is he is good at the decision-making part of it. Like, you don't need to be concerned about making a bad read, putting the ball in somewhere silly. Trust yourself, trust your eyes, trust your read. Just put the ball in the air fast. Get rid of it. Throw it, get it out there. Trust that you've made the right decision and play that way, because if you hang on to the ball, bad things happen. That was the game plan for Dylan Gabriel as well. It's basically the same. They're going to want to run the ball a lot. The more they can have, Quinshon Judkins run the ball, the less you have to put the ball in the hand of any quarterback. So the game plan for the Browns remains the same. It's just a very different quarterback operating it, I think. And then, it really does come down to what his relationship with pressure is going to be like in this game. If it's like it was against Baltimore, this is going to be a miserable, low-scoring game. If he's actually able to get rid of the ball crisply, mitigate that pass rush, they can run the ball, then maybe the Browns roll in this.
So believe it or not, I was looking at Sam Hoppin's offensive line stats again. Source unknown. It's either NFL Fastar, True Media, or ESPN. The Browns actually have lower yards before carry number, yards before contact per carry for their running backs, lower than the Raiders. So this is a battle of the two worst teams at creating yards before contact in the league. Browns are 32nd, Raiders are 31st. So we talk about the Raiders' run game quite a bit and how awful it's been, and I like to call them the no chance plays.
Yeah.
You've got some no chance plays. And if you create something out of a no chance play, good for you. Genty hasn't really done a ton of that. But Quinshon Judkins and the Browns have actually been a bit worse in that. Because Judkins has been I think him and Genty have both been impressive as runners. They've both been tough to tackle and, done the best with what they've been given. They've just been given less than almost every back in the league.
Yeah. No, it's been rough for both.
But it'll be must-see TV in the 4 o'clock window, see how Shedeur Sanders does. We've talked about him. If you want more Shedeur discourse, Monday morning, we talked about it quite a bit, recapping.
Yep.
And then yesterday talked about it during the show as well, on the Wednesday show. All right, Raiders by 3.5 here. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go with the Raiders.
No, you got to say, no, man, you believed in Shedeur.
As a draft prospect, I've subsequently seen him play roughly.
They have the better defense.
Yep.
The Raiders just look awful right now, even at home. Got to go Cleveland, right?
No.
No faith. All right, I'll take Cleveland, I think. Harry's going to take the Raiders as well. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars at the Arizona Cardinals. Jags favored by 2.5 here. Playoff implications for the Jags. They're 6-4. Every single game is going to be huge for them. Cardinals down to 3-7. What are you looking for in this one? By the way, also, you've got Jacoby Brissett coming off of NFL record.
Greatest game of all time.
47 completions last week.
It is crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think Arizona's actually becoming one of those slightly confusing teams as well. We talked about a bunch of confusing football teams with Mina Kimes when she was on the show yesterday. Cardinals are kind of in that category as well. I feel like a lot of elements of this team should be better than they've been. And then you've got Jacksonville, who she mentioned when we first spitballed that idea as a team that's kind of confusing for her. I think Jacksonville generally is less confusing. A lot of it is just Trevor Lawrence inconsistency. But there's sort of two teams that feel like they should be better than they have been.
Yeah, I mentioned last week in the Jags game, I thought Liam Cohen and just the play calling generally was fantastic for Jacksonville. And that could be their edge down the stretch here. Again, I still think there's better football to be played by Trevor Lawrence. You see flashes of it, and I know they're technically missing their top two receivers in Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. They have the last couple weeks. Jacoby Myers, starting to see him get integrated into the offense, which is great. But Liam Cohen being able to dial up some wide open passes and some gimme touchdowns on in the run game and the pass game, I think that could be one of the difference makers for Jacksonville down the stretch here. And as long as their defense can hold, remember early in the year they were very turnover dependent. I think the play for play underlying metrics weren't great, so I think they're okay defensively, they're okay offensively, and it's going to come down to schematically, can you put your players in position to succeed? Lose it without some of the playmakers that you expected to have coming into the year. We were intrigued by Jacksonville coming in saying Brian Thomas Jr. year 2, Travis Hunter, one of the best receivers in the draft. Let's see what they could do with them. And it never materialized. And now they're both injured, and BTJ, we'll see when he can come back. So I think it's a Liam Cohen show right now. See what you can dial up and keep the offense on track.
And their run game, which has been much improved.
They leaned on it a lot last week. Yeah.
Bashal Tutin's hurt coming off that game, so that's not ideal. But that run game is dramatically improved, and Arizona's run defense is not fantastic. So that's an area where I think you would want to lean anyway, regardless of what happens with the pass game.
Arizona's run game, I had a stat on that on the sheets that I left at home. Arizona's run game has been awful. Where was it here? I'll get to that in a second. But DeMarcado's already been ruled out. Marvin Harrison Jr. out again with the appendicitis. They did open the 21-day practice window for Trey Benson, which is intriguing.
Yeah.
For whenever, maybe not for this game, but for whenever he could.
That's
going to
ruin all of Marvin Harrison's offseason gains. He put on 20 pounds of muscle or whatever. Now he's going to lose it all with appendicitis. That's
a huge point. Huge point. Normal down and distance. Jacksonville's run defense against Arizona's run game. So this is why does Jacoby Brissett have to complete 47 passes? They can't get the run game going. Game flow got out of hand last week, but Arizona's averaging 2.4 yards per carry on what we would call normal down and distance plays. So take out your third and longs and everything. So just at the times when you're trying to run the ball in normal game flow, Arizona's been awful. They're down to third and fourth string running backs. That's a huge part of that. And the Jags have been great at stopping the run, 3.2 yards per carry, second best in the league during that in those situations. So it could be another game where Michael Wilson had the 15 catches last week, and Trey McBride. Could be another week where it's hey, Jacoby, go win this game with your arm. And that wasn't really the game plan last week. It's just game flow got out of hand. Right. They had some early turnovers. Plus, you probably can't run the ball. Plus, the Niners can't rush the passer, so you got to throw it. But I think we might see another game that looks like that, where Arizona, even without Marvin Harrison Jr., has to rely on the pass game.
Yeah, though I think that will go very differently if that happens to be the case. I mean, the point, you can do that. You can throw 50 times in a game because San Francisco has maybe no pass rush anymore at all. Jacksonville has a pass rush. You can't really get away with doing that against the Jags. They are going to come after you. And if Jacoby Brissett has another 47 completion day, he's absolutely not getting out of it without a sack the way he did last week.
All right, man, let's make picks. Jags by 2.5 here. Sunday at the 4:05, middle of the witching hour.
Jags, I believe they are the better football team and will therefore win and cover.
No. What did I go here? Did I take Arizona last week and lose? Yeah. My disappointment with Arizona is getting smoked 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
After beating Dallas.
That will be disappointing.
Yeah. Give me the Jags, though. Let's go Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of disappointing. Saints favored by 1.5 here. Why is that? 3-7 Falcons, the 2-8 Saints battle for last place now in the NFC South.
Yeah.
Michael Penix Jr. officially out for the season. As of record time yesterday when we broke it down, it wasn't officially official because we thought, he's on IR, but there's a chance he could come back. But no, they're gonna fix the entire ACL. So he's out for the season. Drake London is out this week, their top wide receiver by a mile.
Yep.
And so it's Kirk Cousins thrown to David Sills.
And that's why.
That's why, and that is why the Saints are favored by 1.5 here.
Yep.
The Falcons in a tough spot right now. Year 2 of Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot, general manager. Some aggressive moves the last couple of years, obviously, leaving little draft capital going forward. They've got a potential top 10 pick that's going to the Rams right now. So it's not looking good in Atlanta, and they're at this point, the last few weeks have really been save your season mode, but now it's really can't afford to lose if you're trying to save your season and have some sort of optimism heading into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I put them into the category of, their season's already done, to be honest.
They're close to the graveyard.
They're not mathematically.
I'm nodding at the graveyard.
Right. They're not mathematically eliminated, but they're effectively done. The thing is, though, I mean, it's going to look really bad if that pick that they ship to the Rams ends up being super high. But it was one of those complicated trades where it's like, those pick swaps involved, and it's a pain trying to net those out because they got a third back, right, in the process, and it's like the third became Xavier Watts. So it's like you can actually construct an argument where James Pierce Jr. and Xavier Watts, if they continue in their current trajectories, actually ends up being like that's a very good combination currently. So that even if it ends up being a top 10 pick, plus the second rounder last year that you had to give up, plus the 7th or something that nets, you'd have to be hitting a pretty high range or high end of possible outcomes of those picks for it to be better than the two you actually ended up getting.
So I get it. Like if you said, we like James Pierce, he's a good player, we'd give up a top 10 pick for James Pierce. That's fine. Where it feels bad as a fan or when you're looking at team building is a team that's currently, even though they're depending on these rookies who could be great these next few years, they're currently 3-7.
Yes.
And then
it's like,
and then you immediately go to
pick on
how are we going to fix? Yeah. How are we going to fix the team? Oh, so we already had that guy on the team. We're 3-7, and we're trying to fix the team, and we got to wait till the second round.
So the problem is not the players that you ended up getting. The problem is you now need reinforcements on top of those players that have already arrived, and you don't have that pick. Like I forget where I saw the stat. Was it ESPN? Where there's like a 17% chance that they ship the 5th overall pick to the Rams, based off current, win probabilities and stuff.
And even though,
that doesn't feel great.
We have tomorrow we'll have a Mike Renner's mock draft right here on the show. We're going to break it all down. Pre-recorded that with Mike yesterday. So that'll drop 9 a.m. tomorrow. So that's even something else to be keeping an eye out for. And we talk about the strength of the draft. We talked with Dane Brugler last week. It might not be the strongest draft this year and fewer blue chips. And maybe if there was a year to not have a top 10 pick, this would be the year, but it doesn't soften the blow.
No, and also, the higher up you get, the more impact that makes. I mean, like I said, a 17% chance of it being the 5th overall pick. I mean, a lot of good players get drafted at 5 overall.
And conversely,
Joe Alt, Jamar Chase, you can hit 5 overall is a big pick to be given up.
And conversely, the Rams sitting here with the best record in the NFC.
The Rams could win a Super Bowl and have the 5th overall pick.
Yeah. And that's what the Eagles did a couple years ago, where they were in the Super Bowl and still picking in the top 10 because they had done this multi-year manipulation of the draft. Not to sidebar this too much, but the butterfly effect and the what ifs are just hilarious in this whole situation. The Rams were trying to trade up. Remember the report came out and they showed they were trying to trade up for Tetero McMillan, by the way.
Yeah,
which would have been, and they would have had him. This was after they'd already signed Devontae Adams. They would have had both of those guys. They were trying to trade up to 8. Instead, they traded out of the first round and into next year's first round. So sometimes you talk about teams and it's like, well, they were mortgaging the future for this and that. Well, the Rams were doing both. They were like, we're so aggressive, we're gonna try to trade up.
Right. Plan B was the opposite of Plan A.
And so it looks like, oh, great multi-year strategy for the Rams. Well, they were trying to go all in kind of from a draft pick perspective, and they end up now in this incredible position for next year. And that's why we love team building season in football. Anyway, for this game, another start for Tyler Shuck, start number 3 for Shuck against an Atlanta defense. We call the Falcons confusing, which they are, but now their defense is even confusing, right? They gave up 440 last week to Bryce Young through the air. Couldn't tackle, yards after the catch was awful. And week to week, though, Atlanta, they have weeks where they're not like Seattle, but like early in the season, they had games where they looked like Seattle's defense, where you don't know where the pressure's coming from, and they're just creating havoc up front, and it just isn't there every single week for Atlanta. So it could be a good challenge for Tyler Shuck, or it might not be.
Yeah. Again, Atlanta, one of the most confusing teams in the NFL. Some weeks that defense looks like one of the best defenses in the NFL, like creative, disruptive, destructive, all of that together. And that's it's the recipe for one of those like, oh my God, Tyler Shuck plays where he just panics and heaves the ball somewhere ridiculous. You know, if that happens, I don't think the Saints will win or cover this line. But you also have games where the defense really doesn't make that much of an impact at all, and they can be attacked, and you can have good success with them. So that side, I think, is the bigger variable to me, is how you're going to go from New Orleans' offensive point of view. The other side, though, like I just think Atlanta's going to have a grind unless they can run the ball very easily. Cousins with his arm right now, throwing to nobody, feels like an awful combination.
Yeah, I mentioned Monday morning, man. His arm looks really bad.
Yeah.
Even worse than last year.
But even last year, like it's like Zach now has to spend this entire week trying to craft a game plan for this noodle arm geriatric. Like that's harsh. You know what I mean?
Noodle arm geriatric.
But like that's
your wordsmithing is fantastic.
You know, his entire week has to be not just like, let's get him comfortable.
Without
it's like
Drake, you can't put Drake London in the slot.
It's like I need to go and I need to junk 85% of this playbook, and I need to come up with a game plan that makes the 15% that's left function for an NFL offense.
I mean, people don't always remember Chad Pennington and watching him play, but he had a below average. I'm always intrigued by the below average armed quarterback. You could put Brock Purdy in that camp too. Brock Purdy has a below average NFL arm, I would say, velocity wise. But it doesn't mean they can't make it work. They just have to anticipate that much more. They have to understand coverage that much more. They have to be one step ahead. You have to throw the ball earlier. And so what I'm seeing with like Chad Pennington used to do that to the point where teams would just they would ignore deep out cuts, right? They would just ignore parts of the field, or you could just cheat inside. And I think Cousins Purdy's not necessarily at that point, because I think he throws with anticipation out there and he could get it. I don't think Cousins even has the arm to get the ball outside the numbers. So now you're talking about a defense that could say, go ahead, throw it 40 yards, throw it over my head, I dare you. So they're gonna jump everything short, and then you tighten up in the middle and say, go ahead, throw the deep out, throw the deep comeback. You didn't do it last year, and I've seen you throw the ball you can't even do that over the middle right now. So it just feels like passes that are open are just being contested with Cousins' arm right now. So I think it's got to be a heavy run game. Bijan, Algier, probably have to get a little bit more creative with that, with the run game, and just lean on those guys and see how much you can shorten the game if you're the Falcons now against the Saints.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think one of the hardest things to do as an athlete is to rewire your brain. You know, listen to J.J. McCarthy, is to rewire your brain when your physical capacity has changed. Like, make your brain catch up to the physical changes generally when you get old. When you get old and you lose a step or you lose something, the arm is no longer what it was. Your brain doesn't catch up to that. It never learns. It never realizes that this thing that I used to be able to do, I can't really do anymore. And so you're just constantly. That's how you lose the step. The problem isn't actually losing the step. The problem is your brain never realizes that you've lost the step. So you never change the angle that you're running to. You never offset or combat the fact that you've lost something physically, and that's where it becomes a problem. Chad Pennington always had a noodle for an arm, so he knew how to work around it. Cousins hasn't. Cousins had a perfectly fine arm, and now he doesn't.
It was about an average NFL arm. It was never great,
but it was fine.
It was fine, yeah.
And now it's not fine. And the problem is his brain is not going to learn until the end of his career that you no longer have the arm that you used to have.
You're right. And did you mention Peyton?
No, but that's why.
That's your favorite example, right? 2000. For those who don't remember, 2012, Peyton Manning's coming off the neck surgery. His first week was okay. His second week, he goes into Atlanta, tries to throw 3 seam routes, and they get picked. He looks awful. And it looked like his career was over.
Yeah. And that's why, like, people have said that Peyton Manning's, the deliberation on Peyton Manning's Hall of Fame, debate was like 12 seconds or whatever. If it had been closer, like if Peyton Manning was actually a sort of borderline Hall of Famer, I would make an argument for him being in the Hall of Fame based off that alone. Like, this guy did something that I've never seen anybody else do, which is on the fly during the course of an NFL season, he rewired his brain to completely change the way he played the game because he realized he could no longer physically do the things that he used to do. That's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen anybody do in sport, because when almost anybody else runs up against that exact scenario, they're just done. It's like, I can't do what I used to do, and I can't change that. Cousins is now in this world where he's attempting throws and the ball's just dropping a yard short at a guy's feet. And it's like, unless you figure out you either can't make that throw anymore, or you need to recalibrate, name 5 yards beyond him, you're done.
So it's a great point by you, right? It's like, it's not just dealing with the lesser arm. Yeah. Finally, 3 hours in, you finally made
Great
one.
point by me.
When your arm changes, you're adjusting to that, which is different from always, like Kyler Murray's always been short, so he's always got presumably. Maybe he was above average height at some point.
Right, maybe at 6, he was a giant.
But he's probably always been short, so you're always dealing with the height, right? You're always playing with that. Kirk hasn't been. And then from a Shuck perspective, keep an eye on him. Third start. They're coming off their bye. I think he's played pretty clean so far, right? We always talked about the head-scratching decisions. Atlanta would be the type of offense that could induce that with some of their pressure packages and their ability to create havoc. Now, Jalen Walker's looking really good off the edge as a rookie. James Pierce, who we mentioned. So keep an eye on Shuck and some of his decision-making against the Falcons here.
He's also been generally quite inaccurate, which isn't helping. Like, it would be helpful if in between your crazy decisions you were pretty much pinpoint.
It's been the last time we saw him, who did they play 2 weeks ago? Oh, the Panthers, when they upset the Panthers. He did miss a lot of gimmies.
Yeah.
But he made a lot of big plays as well, right? Or at least gave the opportunity, kind of a jump ball to Olave, but some really nice throws outside the numbers from Shuck and rolling to his left, of course. So he's been a little bit boom or bust from that perspective, created some explosives, but missed some of the gimmies, and got to get better.
And that's the good thing about that offense. The playmakers, for the most part, are still there. Obviously, they traded away Rashid Shaheed, but the rest of that group is still dynamic.
All right, man, let's make a pick. Man, I don't like this at all.
I'm going with the Saints. I believe, or more to the point, I'm just too confused by the Falcons, and I have no faith in Kirk Cousins and his noodle.
All right, I'll take Atlanta still because they're underdogs here against the Saints. Still a better overall team. Harry's also going to take the Falcons. Not sure he knows about Penix's injury and Drake London's injury, so we'll let you know. I'll give Harry an update.
Yeah. You're all like throwing the kid under the bus. I don't know why his picks are falling off.
The kid goes in on Tuesday and makes his picks. If he doesn't want to do his research, that's on him. It's on him. He has limited access to the internet. He could read ESPN.
This is like, Shedeur Sanders been set up for failure. Steve Palazzolo is out here setting Harry up for failure.
It's not my job. It's the 5th round. You can figure it out. Mm-hmm. Learn how to sink or swim. All right, let's wrap it up. Monday Night Football, Carolina Panthers at the San Francisco 49ers. Niners favored by 7 here for a 6-5 Panthers team against a 7-4 Niners team. Over under 48.5 per Fanduel. Fanduel believing in this Panthers offense in the rejuvenation last week. Bryce Young coming off of maybe his best game as a pro. At least it's up there. Definitely statistically, but
yeah,
good game for Bryce Young last week.
Well, this should be kind of fascinating because you've got, Bryce Young's coming off like 450 passing yards and looking like a superstar, and now they go up against a team that has no pass rush, just allowed 47 completions to Jacoby Brissett. Like, Bryce Young should be on for like 700-yard pace.
I'm going to become a feels guy here. I think there's there's a couple quarterbacks we're going to do this with. So Sam Darnold catching strays here in the Panthers 49ers game. Like if you watch Sam Darnold and early in the game, he throws the off balance, he's trying to do too much play, it might be a sign of things to come. On the other hand, if you see Bryce, if you see him break the pocket, make a little scramble drill play, look super, just look in his eyes. It's a look in the eyes guy. If Bryce looks confident at about 8:15 Eastern time, Monday night, it's going to be a good game. You can see it last week against the Falcons. You just see the way Bryce Young carried himself. He's like, man, I'm turning the season around. I'm going to be last year's second half Bryce Young when he was going toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, putting up 31 against Spags.
I mean, this is one of those chicken or the egg things. I feel like if you put the camera on most quarterbacks midway through a 450-yard game, they'd probably be looking pretty comfortable.
Maybe. Does confidence breed success, or does success breed confidence, Sam?
Who knows?
This is what it is.
Who knows? I mean, I will say, though, I just think generally that going up against this 49ers defense right now is probably a pretty good get-right spot for any quarterback, and Bryce Young doesn't need to get right, having just got right last week. I would expect that to keep rolling. I mean, not 450, but if this wasn't a back-to-back 300-plus yard game, at this point, I'd be reasonably surprised.
Yeah, the snap-for-snap pressure for the Niners has been rough. They're not going to win with their front four. They've got to get, they tap into the creativity as far as blitz scheme goes. If they can't get pressure on Bryce Young, I think he's going to have a lot of success.
Bryce Young this year has a 448-yard game, a 328-yard game, and everything else is under 200.
Makes sense.
Makes no sense.
Not at all.
Utterly
no, it
insane.
does not. There's no in between. So you could see it the other day. Early swagger. If you see early swagger Monday night, watch out.
You need to go back and check that. The week 2 against Arizona, first drive. Did you see? Yeah, did you see it in the eyes?
He fumbled on the second snap. Yes. You saw it right away. It's like, oh, fumble. Oh, Arizona's up 7-0. Game is over.
No, but that's the one where he had 328. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was all garbage time, though.
Doesn't matter.
Garbage time 328.
Yeah, that's different.
He didn't play well. He's going to play well when he's got the early swag. Early swag, Bryce.
So I think I think Carolina's offense will probably do pretty well against San Francisco's defense because their defense is terrible. The interesting thing almost becomes the other side. 49ers offense was cooking with Brock Purdy back in the lineup. Carolina's defense has been pretty good, though. It's certainly very good against the run. Can they force the 49ers to be one-dimensional? Does the 49ers being one-dimensional from a passing point of view diminish what they can do? I think that side of the ball is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I think Carolina's linebackers have been kind of hit or miss this year too. That's who Shanahan usually attacks. George Kittle looks outstanding. I think when you have the healthy tight end in that offense, everything's cooking, everything's different. So you've got the playmakers to throw to. Purdy back. I think Purdy just attacks other parts of the field that Mac Jones doesn't, and he's got a below average NFL arm, just like Mac Jones does. They have similar arms, but I think Purdy brings just a different element to attacking outside the numbers. As long as he doesn't have some vision problems in the middle of the field. I think early in the season, Purdy, we had some really rough decisions. Take some of those out, and I have a lot of confidence in this Niners offense, the way they're constructed. Trayvon Merrick, I think, will be a key in this game for the Panthers. He's playing right. I say this as make sure nobody's hurt. Yeah. But they've used him in this world of dime linebackers and big nickel and everything. Merrick's played a lot in and around the line of scrimmage. He's made some huge plays as a blitzer, and relying on him from a run defense perspective to make plays against Christian McCaffrey. He's like the unblocked defender to make some of those plays. So if you're going to stop the run, keep an eye on Merrick in and around the line of scrimmage for the Panthers in this game.
Yeah, and Derek Brown, I think, is one of the most underrated stars on the defensive line because he's more of a run-focused player. He's not a dynamic pass rusher, but that dude is so strong and powerful. Can the 49ers block him up? Dominic Pooney's a good player at right guard. I don't know that they have a left side that can stop him.
Yeah, Derek Brown's awesome. So, yeah, run defense-wise, I think him, Merrick, just keep an eye on that entire part of the game. You're right. If they do take McCaffrey out of the game from a run game perspective, does that? I don't know if it ends up mattering, but puts a little more pressure on Purdy to be turnover-free and make good decisions. 7 points, though, for teams that are one game apart in the standings. And it's not like the Niners have been dominant
Straight disrespect.
this year. Panthers fans, you're in the chat. I know you're going to be watching the VOD, the on-demand video here. And I think we've called them one of the most confusing teams.
Yep.
Because every time we start to believe in the Panthers, they let us down. Every time we start to doubt the Panthers, they beat the Packers. They pull an upset. So where are we going, right? It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. Other key metric to keep an eye on. We might know the result of this game at 8:14 p.m. Eastern. We might know the result by coin toss time. Because the Carolina Panthers is Jay Kuda.
Yeah.
Who I don't know what he does for a living. He just puts out like really fun, awesome graphics, like some amazing, hilarious, well-researched graphics.
You only like them because he clearly does them on MS Paint, so you can relate.
He does them on MS
man
Paint,
after your own heart.
but that's part of the humor. It's not a limitation of him, because he also has created images. Like here's an image of, like using only pictures of Babe Ruth. Here's a big picture of someone else. I don't know. He does some incredible stuff. But he put out the very analytic savvy stat. The Panthers are 6-0 when they win the coin toss, and 0-5 when they lose the coin toss.
Yeah.
So 8:14 Eastern time, Monday night, we'll probably have an idea what happens. That'll give you 60 seconds to go to Fanduel and get a bet in. Is that correct? Can you still?
I don't know. Or flip your pick in the sleeper app.
Flip your pick in the sleeper app.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know
if
how
the Panthers
much.
win the toss, they're definitely covering the 7.
I would love to know actually what my record is picking the Panthers this year. I feel like it's wrong every week. So
it's over.
I'm confused. I have no idea. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win and cover, and God knows what happens.
So my normal pattern is the Panthers win, I pick them next week. They lose, I pick against them next week.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with it.
Which I think I can probably find out with the...
I'm going to stick with the same pattern. I'll take the Panthers. 7's a lot. Pick the Panthers to cover the 7. All right, that's it. Week 12 previewed. Don't forget, next week our preview is going to be on Wednesday, so a day early, Thanksgiving week. We might also pick North Reading Linfield next week.
Oh, God.
Part of our tradition.
Yeah.
I'll have to get a line on that, the old Turkey Bowl game.
A line on it.
I usually tweet at the soccer coach, and he'll give me a hypothetical line. He's like, "This is for amusement only."
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
You just try not to lose.
Not
his job.
betting advice.
No, no betting advice. Nothing. FanDuel might have something up for North Reading Linfield. So we'll do that next week. Wednesday will be the preview show. Tonight, watch along. Bills Texans. Just cut that out. Bills Texans tonight. Watch along, and then hang out. Sunday, all day, we're going to have a live feed showing the desk, an empty desk, but we're going to be in here chatting throughout the day, leading up to our live reaction Sunday evening.
Working through the sleeper app right now, I believe I picked the Panthers correctly.
1-9, I bet.
I believe I picked them correctly week 1 and have not picked them correctly since.
Because week 1, they got smoked by the Jags. And week 1 doesn't count. Throw it out. You're 0-for against the Panthers.
Right.
I might be too. I think we're in lockstep. This will break it up, though. I'm taking the Panthers. You're not. So here we go. All right, man. Anything else? Anything we missed? Will? We good? 2.5 hours? We're losing it at the end of the season here. Well, we appreciate everybody. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again tonight for the watch along. And then Monday morning, more. Check the mic.